Clerk Fry, can you turn on your video, please? So I have quorum. Perfect. Now I have quorum. Thank you. Okay, let's get this started. Good evening, everyone. I will call the public hearing of Tuesday, April the 14th, 2026 to order. This meeting is being held in person and by electronic means. Council members and the public may participate by either method. Any council member joining electronically are reminded to enable their video to confirm quorum. The meeting is being live streamed on the city's website and YouTube. The meeting progress will be updated regularly on X at Van City Clerk. In case of an emergency requiring evacuation, there are two exits located beyond the glass doors and to the left. If the glass doors are blocked, please use one of the 4 additional exits within the council chamber. Do not use the elevator, use the stairs instead. If you need mobility assistance, remain where you are and the security staff will get you to a safe location. A defibrillator is available at the end of the hallway outside of this council chamber. We acknowledge that we are on the unceded homelands of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people. We thank them for having care of this land and look forward to working with them in partnership as we continue to build this great city together. I will also recognize the immense contributions of City of Vancouver's team members who work hard every day to help make our city an incredible place to live, work, and play. Clerk, may we have the roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor Sim has a leave of absence for civic business from 5 p.m. onwards. Councillor Kirby Young has a leave of absence for personal reasons all day. Councillor Dominato.
Present.
Councillor Bly has a leave of absence for personal reasons all day. Councillor Fry.
Present.
Councillor Montague.
Present.
Councillor Klassen.
Present.
Councillor Meisner.
Present.
Acting Mayor Joe is in the chair. Councillor Orr. Councillor Maloney. You have quorum, Acting Mayor Joe.
Okay, thanks, Clerk. Before we begin, we have a few announcements. The public may speak in person or by phone and may submit written comments to Mayor and Council. Speakers may only speak once and will have up to 5 minutes to comment on the merits of the application. Please state whether you are in support or in opposition of the application. And if you are a Vancouver resident, if it is not noted on the speakers list. Those representing 4 or more individuals or groups, including themselves, may speak up to 8 minutes. Each person being represented must confirm their name and presence in person or by phone, and may not speak separately. Please follow the live stream or at Van City Clerk on X to track meeting progress and know when your turn to speak is approaching. Please note the live stream might have a slight delay. Written comments can be submitted through the Mayor and the Council public hearing feedback from the form on the city's website and linked on X. If you pre-registered with a presentation, see Next to have Clerk advance your slides. A reminder, at public hearings, Council acts as a quasi-judicial body and may focus solely on the merits of the rezoning or heritage application. Members may ask clarifying questions of staff or speakers, including the applicant, but should reserve debate until after the speakers list has closed. After speaking from the speakers, hearing from the speakers, Council may, there are 4 options. 1, approve the application in principle. 2, approve the application in principle with amendments. 3, refuse the application. Or 4, refer the application to staff for further consideration. Okay, so we have 1 item on the agenda today. That is CD 1363 tax amendment, 1055 to 1085 Canada Place, and 1001 to 1045 West Waterfront Road. Before we begin this agenda item, if anyone believes they have a conflict of interest, now is the time to declare it. Does anyone have a conflict of interest to disclose? All right, seeing none, the clerk will now read the application and the summary of the correspondence received.
This is an application by Vancouver Harbour Flight Centre Limited to amend CD1 District 363 for 1055 1085 Canada Place and 1001 1045 West Waterfront Road to increase the maximum floor area of sub-area 2 from 98,122 square meters to 101,223 square meters and increase the maximum height for structures between the Vancouver Convention and Exhibition Center and the harbor headline from 9 meters to 20 meters, to permit a 250-room floating hotel and a new dock at water level with a public walkway and commercial uses. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability recommends approval, subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing: 32 pieces of correspondence in support and 37 pieces of correspondence in opposition. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Okay, so this is the first call for speakers. If you wish to speak to council about this item, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 106-1445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and displayed during the recess. There will be an opportunity for new speakers and missed speakers to be heard at the end of the registered speakers list. We have staff from Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability here to present the application. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair and Council and members of the public. My name is Chi Chan. I'm the rezoning planner for this text amendment being considered under the Cole Harbour Official Development Plan and Hotel Development Policy. The site shown in the dotted white outline is currently zoned CD1 363 and consists of land and water portions. It's located just west of the central waterfront area, along Canada Place Road and between Burrard and Thurlow Streets. The site is developed as the Vancouver Convention and Exhibition Center. I'll refer to it as the VCEC. The Harbor Air Floatplane Terminal, as well as the current moorage for the Hullo Ferry, is located along the VCEC's northwestern edge. The existing Canada Place Convention Center is located just to the east, as well as access to Waterfront SkyTrain Station and the C-Bus Terminal. This text amendment is limited to modifying the site's zoning to permit a floating hotel that will be located in the northwest area of the VCEC site, as shown in the yellow dotted outline. The proposed land use is consistent with the Destination Venue District Land Use Designation of the Vancouver Official Development Plan. This land use designation designates areas that serve a specialized purpose, such as event centers, arenas, or exhibition grounds. These areas function as a regional destination for arts, tourism, entertainment, or public events. This application is being considered under the Cole Harbour Official Development Plan. This ODP permits a diversity of water uses complementary to downtown and port activities, including marina with public access, marine terminals, moorage, seaplane, and seaplane facilities. This proposal aligns with the general intent of the Cole Harbour ODP. The proposal also aligns with the Hotel Development Policy's goal to encourage new hotels across Vancouver. This application is a text amendment to CD1 363. The amendment is to permit the use, height, and density to accommodate a 250-room floating hotel and a west side dock. The total floor area for the floating hotel and west side dock together is approximately 13,700 square meters. While there is existing unbuilt area within CD1 363, an additional 3,100 square meters of density is being created through this text amendment to support the floating hotel and west side dock. The floating hotel is proposed to be 20 meters high above the waterline. It also contains a restaurant, bar, and shops inside the floating structure. On the west side dock, there are two buildings, one for cafe and one for spa. There is a public access SRW which will be secured over the west side dock from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and permit the public to access this dock area for views across the harbor and to the North Shore Mountains. This west side dock would effectively act like an extension of the perimeter seawall along the convention center. Under the Vancouver building bylaw, a floating hotel cannot be issued a building permit or occupancy permit, as it does not contain a foundation or footings. It is essentially a barge. These permits would ordinarily allow the city to ensure that buildings are built for life safety, structural integrity, fire suppression, and evacuation, among other things. Instead, the applicant team proposes that the floating hotel will be subject to a certification by a third-party international ship classification society, Det Norske Veritas, I hope I pronounced that correctly. DNV's certification process is recognized by Transport Canada, as well as the United Nations International Maritime Organization, the agency responsible for creating global regulations and policies for safe and secure maritime operations. Nonetheless, to mitigate the city's risk of not being able to issue a building or occupancy permit, the applicant has agreed to provide a release and indemnity in favor of the city in the event of any injury, death, or damage associated with the floating hotel, hold a minimum amount of liability insurance, and report regularly to the city on its certification status and in the event of discovery of life safety and health-related deficiencies. During the public engagement period, comments were received in support of the additional hotel rooms, that the floating hotel would be a unique addition to activate the waterfront, and its location would enhance tourism. Concerns were expressed about the floating hotel obstructing views of the harbor and the North Shore from the seawall walkway, environmental and marine impacts, and congestion both on land and in a busy marine area. In response to the obstruction of views, as I previously mentioned, public access would be secured from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. on the new west side dock to allow the public to see new views of the harbor and North Shore. In terms of environmental concerns, the applicant will be required to obtain the necessary environmental permits from other regulatory agencies with jurisdiction over the maritime environment, the marine environment, such as the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. In terms of congestion, the site is highly accessible for pedestrians and cyclists given its location next to the seawall and proximity to the waterfront SkyTrain station. The applicant will be responsible for resolving any potential conflicts with seaplanes and other marine operations with other regulatory agencies with jurisdiction over navigation, such as Nav Canada and the Port Authority. The public benefits anticipated from this project are approximately $220,000 from the West Side Dock in DCLs and $290,000 for public art, for a total of approximately $500,000. The public access SRW over the West Side Dock is also an on-site public benefit from this project. As I mentioned earlier, the floating hotel is not subject to a building permit, and the city cannot collect DCLs on a floating hotel. Staff requested a contribution from the applicant of approximately $3.6 million, a value similar to an equivalent DCL for the hotel's floor area, but the applicant has declined to make a contribution. Staff recommend approval of this text amendment subject to the conditions of Appendix B in the report. Please note that there is also a yellow memo attached to this application. Staff and the applicant team are available to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Acting Mayor, members of council, thanks so much for this opportunity to appear before you. My name is Graham Clark. I represent the Vancouver Harbour Flight Centre, which is a long-standing tenant in the harbour and part of a group of companies that's been operating in these waters for over a century. We come before you with a proposal that we believe is uniquely suited to Vancouver, a city that's globally recognized yet physically constrained in how it can grow. The question before you is not simply whether to approve another hotel, it is whether Vancouver can continue to evolve its waterfront in a way that's economically meaningful, environmentally responsible, and publicly accessible. This project does exactly all of those things. Floating hotel allows the city to add high-quality accommodations capacity, something that Vancouver consistently needs, without consuming scarce land and without displacing existing uses and without creating a permanent footprint on the shoreline. It is, in many respects, a reversible and adaptable form of development. From a public benefit standpoint, the project will generate significant economic activity, construction jobs, long-term employment, increased tourism spending, and ongoing tax revenues, all while strengthening Vancouver's position as a premier destination for the Pacific. Just as importantly, this is not a speculative, untested concept. Our group has operated in Vancouver's waterfront for over a century. I acquired the company 50 years ago. And Sunborn, the proponent, is an international leader in floating hotel developments with successful projects operating in major cities. This is a partnership that combines local stewardship and global expertise. We understand that the waterfront is a shared civic asset. Our intention is not to privatize it, but to enhance it, to add animation, activity, and economic vitality in a way that complements the convention center and the surrounding public realm. With that, I'd like to introduce our partner, Mr. Hans Niemi, CEO of Sunborn International, who can speak directly to their experience, and I will be available to answer questions later if you wish. Thank you.
Connect, ask Counselor online, turn on their video, please. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Hans Niemi, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Sunborn International. We're headquartered in Finland and come from a long background of real estate, hospitality, maritime development. Can we have the next slide, please? The background to this proposed development is stemming back to the times of the Coal Harbour original plans. And subsequently, Vancouver Harbour Flight Centre developed a plan for a marina for this site, a private marina that Graham Clerk always says that was not in the heart of what he wanted to do as a legacy, a private mega yacht marina that would not be publicly accessible. This proposal builds on that Previs Marina development idea, and we're creating a public use hotel and ancillary services in this site. The site is very suitable because it already contains some of the infrastructure that was originally intended for the water uses in this area, including the dolphin and the connection points. Can we have the next slide, please? Sunborn's background dates back almost 55 years. We have been developing real estate, hospitality, maritime assets in multiple countries, like many hotel and hospitality companies do, operate globally. We tend to do landmark, high quality, long-standing properties that we own and operate. We're an OpCo, PropCo. Our background is a family business, owned and run by our family. And the company in question doing this is our public listed company listed on Helsinki Nasdaq Stock Exchange. Next slide, please. The other backstory to the proposed development is our very similar circumstances hotel operation in London. We've been operating in London, this particular hotel asset and one hotel ship before that for 23 years. Successfully. This is the best performing hotel in the London Convention Centre XL campus for the last 10 years, based on third-party studies, with the best RevPARs, ADRs, and occupancies in the comp set. And this is very similar to the proposal what we're making for Vancouver in the sense that this hotel is connected to the exhibition center. It provides a critical service for the conference market. It is tied into the infrastructure of the convention center in London, just like we're proposing to do here in Vancouver. We're piping in, we're getting our power, we're putting our black water into their system, and we're utilizing an otherwise unused water space in this very critical location. Next slide, please. So the location for the proposal here is located between the cruise port and between the Harbor Flight Center seaplane terminal and the recently built hollow travel hub for the ferries. And so it's a very appropriate location in our view for a maritime asset, which is temporary in nature. And just like in London, connects to the convention center and benefits from the existing facilities, infrastructure, parking, and access points that have been built already. Next slide, please. What we're seeking is a text amendment to allow the use of the hotel in this area. The hotel would have 250 rooms. It is a high-quality hotel. What we are running in London currently is a 4-star deluxe property. This would be a slightly higher standard. This is not a super expensive, very exclusive, unattainable product. We understand the market and the location, and we will work hand in hand with PAVCO, providing services to their clients. So the pricing point and our access to the market at the right commercial levels is very important to us. The connection to the VCC is also critical as we have the parking, which is located in the VCC building, and most of the infrastructure is going to be in the undercroft that we're going to be tapping into. We expect quite a large portion of our clientele to come directly from the convention center, but this is also a hotel for leisure clients and corporate clients alike. One point to make is that even though it is fixed with our mooring system, it is a temporary in nature proposal. The benefit of that is we are not taking away space from the land side or other critical uses that the city may have, affordable housing, among other things. As a temporary in nature proposal, it means that we are going to be operating here as long as we are wanted, and there's a demand for this product. And it allows for the future development opportunities in this site years ahead. We're not taking opportunities away from the city. The maritime nature of this asset is also complementary to the city's hotel development plan. I remember reading specifically that the hotel development plan is seeking variety in accommodation and hotels. Well, this truly is something of different variety to the rest of the normal land-based hotels. And it's a very fitting asset class as a maritime yacht and a vessel for the port. And suitable sites for these kinds of operations are very, very hard to come by. And this is one of those locations where these requirements seem to fit really, really well in this location specifically. The new public dock that we're proposing to be built ancillary to the hotel is going to be under building permit. It is a more permanent in nature structure as a concrete floating structure, also attached with our fixed mooring system. This is open to the public. One of the aspirations here is that we will increase the access to the waterfront and provide new type of access points to the water level, and adding almost 100 meters of basically public walkway and viewpoints. Next slide, please. The current situation in Vancouver, as we understand it, is there is a shortage of hotel rooms, which in the last city investigation was around 6,000 bedrooms in shortage. New applications have been processed, clearly. So we will provide our piece of the missing hotel rooms. and doing so without taking those opportunities away from the land side. We will be supporting Vancouver conferences by providing these rooms to PEVCO and our visiting international conference clientele. We will be employing around 200 full-time employees, plus the indirect employment opportunities that come from all the ancillary services. Typically, we would use a ratio of 1.5 to the FTEs to scout out the overall sort of staffing requirement. Also importantly, this is a very environmentally hearted development. The energy efficiency, environmental targeting for us is at the heart of the design of this product. This is a product that we're designing for Vancouver. It will be bespoke built for this site. And in the center of our design process is the fact that there's no discharge, there's no oil, there's no permanent engines on board or anything that's going to be dripping into the water. We're fully connected to the infrastructure of PEVCO. And so the environmental impact has been assessed by the company, and we've tried to identify any risk points, and there are very little to report. We're hoping that this destination hotel will become an experiential hotel that will add to the invigoration of the waterfront. This is a hotspot in Vancouver, as I've spent some time here now. It's a very fluid location with lots of pedestrians, bicycles, activities, tourists, cruise line passengers. And so this will provide its part in providing ancillary space and spaces for the local Vancouverians and the tourists to enjoy this location. And importantly, this vessel will be built off-site. That means that this will minimize the disruption that you would normally associate with building a 250-bedroom hotel. Yes, granted, there will be some piling works that we will have to coordinate with our authorities, but for the most part, the disruption will happen elsewhere. The floating dock, the public access spa and cafe, we're planning to build here in Vancouver, and the vessel abroad. Next slide, please. And we can flick through some of these viewpoints just to provide a view on the access and the visibility from the promenade. The access to the hotel, if we stop here for a second. The access to the hotel clients and visitors alike to the food and beverage offerings, the spa and cafe, will be mostly coming from the promenade level. We will be having an access point in PEVCO, where there will be parking available, and there will be a concierge station so you can walk directly from the convention center into the promenade, and from there onwards with this gangway system that we have. And then we're also building, using the existing dolphin that was built already years ago in anticipation of development on this site, will be used to build a very similar type of elevator and staircase access point that we have for the Harbor Flight Center at the moment. And this additional access to the waterfront and the dockway, or the pier and the public walkway, is a contribution. We do not need such a large dock, so we've designed it very much with the public use case in mind. And this will be a sizable investment for the company. So in lieu of some of the normal building permitting related payments to the city, we hope that this will be considered as a contribution of kind. We're estimating this dock and the access points to cost in around 15 million Canadian dollars alone. Next slide. Yes, here, thank you. The public dock proposal, we've taken inspiration from, in fact, the MoMA in Lisbon, where you have a public building and the rooftop of it is walkable. So it's become a bit of a destination for visitors to walk over the rooftop of the building. That same principle we're trying to apply here to make as much of this and different levels accessible to the public, and they can enjoy the viewpoints, have a coffee, enter the spa, enter the cafe, and so forth and so forth. And this is a vantage point and an access point that currently does not exist. So we're seeing this as a positive addition to the site. Next slide. Just showing different perspectives of it. This is one of those points where we are enhancing the views of the surrounding area, and hopefully this will assist in some of the viewpoint concerns that from some vantage points from the promenade we may be taking away. Next slide. We can flick through slowly these couple of vantage points. And this is from the roof level of the spa building. We'll have different levels and a bit of a garden feel to it, with really, really great viewpoints from there. Next slide. Further on the environmental and energy aspects of it. So this vessel has been designed with a target of reducing our energy consumption compared to normal landside or similar structures and hotels by 70%. A 70% reduction in energy consumption, fully using renewable energy sources. And we are going to be piloting some of our patented tidal technology here to convert, also use the tidal range that we're facing, which is a technical challenge in this site, but we're also turning that into an interesting energy converter system. We are using thermal energy systems. That means heat pumps. These have come a long way over the last year, so we're expecting those to also keep on developing as we're building this. So this will be a low carbon hotel. It will have no discharge to the water. We will hold no oil or fossil fuels on board whatsoever. That will also mitigate and de-risk any environmental concerns of leakage or oil or things that normally you would associate with vessels and maritime assets. We're also located in the cruise port. And so just to give you a flavor of the sizing of this vessel, this is not a large vessel at the end of the day. If you compare it to the Norwegian cruise lines or other passenger vessels that frequently visit this site, they are around 150,000 gross tons, up to 300 meters in size, 20 decks, and frequently in the port. Our vessel is 12,500 metric tons, GT. So it is a fraction of the sizing of these passenger vessels. We will not have the engines, propeller systems, or any other mechanics that would normally leak into the water. So we've made it a monohull, meaning that there's no piercings in the hull, and there's nothing that would ever leak into the water from this ship. We're not using generators or engines. We're completely tapped into renewable power sources from shore and in our own energy systems. And the whole vessel is also designed for ultimately to be recycled. There are no hazardous materials on board, as you would normally associate with maritime vessels. And the design of the vessel is hotel first, maritime asset second, meaning that we're trying to not compromise on the public features of the hotel. It needs to run as a hotel, but it also needs to be technically very durable and safe, and that's where the D&B classification and the high maritime standards that are always applied to these vessels comes in. So I would say that this is a safer, technically superior product to landside hotels in terms of health and safety, fire safety, and systems. And we are also contributing to the VCC very advanced recycling systems, black water holding systems, and other capacities that they have built with the frame of mind early that there will be further development on site. So there's capacity in the PAVCO systems that we can tap into. And that is a great thing. So we don't need to build much more. and the access points are already there. Next slide, please. So in brief summary, we are proposing a 250-bedroom hotel, an experiential maritime-themed hotel in the Port District with including around 200 full-time employees plus indirect jobs, off-site construction to mitigate any disruption to the site during the development phase of this. We will be coordinating with the local authorities and planning, permitting, NAV Canada, Transport Canada, for all the prerequisite requirements and certifications that we need. So at this stage, we're just seeking text amendment for the rezoning. And this will be the energy efficient, environmentally friendly hotel in Vancouver, if not the best, among the very best in Canada in terms of our energy targets. We will build a publicly accessible pier and structure as a contribution. And of course, it will have some commercial uses as well. We hope that this will all become a destination in its own right in this fantastic location. We understand the sensitivity of the site and the viewpoints. We have carefully studied the location and the alignment of the vessel with multiple revolutions of designs to accommodate the viewpoints of the port, of PEFCO, of city staff. And we feel that this particular alignment and location fulfills all of those concerns. And with that, I thank you, and happy to answer more questions if there are any. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions from council to staff or the applicant, noting this is the only opportunity for council to ask questions of the applicant? I saw Councillor Montague, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Excuse me. Thanks for the comprehensive presentation. I think you answered almost all of my questions that I had. Just one regarding the public dock. What's the area of that? How big of an area are we talking about, square footage wise? We have an idea?
13,000 square feet.
13,000? Okay, thank you. And I don't know if this is for either city staff or the applicant might know this as well, but the height elevation from, I guess depending on tides, from water level to the current walkway along the convention center. I don't know if anyone knows that.
The renderings that we shown in the presentation, they're all of them at geodetic tide. And the tide variance is around 15 feet at maximum. That's not average, but sort of maximum range. And so it is a moving target in a sense. The entry point for the hotel is on deck 3. And that's pretty much parallel to the promenade level. And the hotel has 6 decks altogether. Okay. One of them is below water as well.
Oh, okay.
If that gives some sense into the... So if you imagine on a normal day where the average tide is where it's normally hitting, you're looking at sort of 2 stories above.
Okay, yes, that does answer my question. Thanks. And the public walkway along Canada Place is significantly higher than that. Do we know the elevation of the walkway along Canada Place?
Thank you for the question. We're just going to look up that information. We'll come back.
Okay, thanks. That's it for now, Chair.
Thanks. Hey, Councillor Maloney.
Thanks. Now,
It's 9 meters.
thanks. I'd just like to address some of the main concerns that I've heard from members of the public. We've heard that the applicant declined to contribute the $3.6 million requested. However, the dock is worth, would cost $50 million, and it contains some commercial spaces. Perhaps this is a question for staff. Are you satisfied that the value, the public contribution, the public value external to the commercial spaces on the dock is worth in excess of the $3.6 million that was requested in amenities fees.
Thank you for the question. I don't have the full value of the dock itself. However, we did look at it from a CAC perspective and of what a hotel floor area of this size might contribute. We equated that, the applicant offered a public access right-of-way on the west dock, and we found that that was an adequate CAC contribution that would mitigate CACs. A DCL is a slightly different aspect, and so we did not find an equivalency necessarily for the DCL.
Perhaps the applicant might want to provide some extra explanation as to why they declined to provide that requested money.
It's a good question, and thank you for it. The nature of the proposal is a maritime asset that is temporary in nature. It is not fixed, and it may actually be moved, depending on the demand situations and what may happen. But as a non-permanent development, it's hard to align with the normal permanent building structures that we would normally develop on the land side, because you have, the value appraisal of your asset going up and the land, and it makes sense to have these sort of building permit related payments. But when you're talking about a ship in the port, we don't know how long it's going to be there. We hope it's going to be there for a long time, but that's the rationale for that. We tried to find something that we can contribute otherwise in kind, and we feel that we'd made a reasonable attempt to do that with the public dock and the amenity and the destination.
So do you consider that the contribution of the public dock would be the reason why you declined to...
That and the temporary in nature asset itself.
Okay.
And as far as we consider the pier structure, the public amenity structure, and the cafe and the spa structure, we consider that to be more of a permanent, and that is subject to building permission as well.
Okay. Thank you. I'd just like to ask a question about what consultation and feedback has taken place with the Vancouver Fire and Rescue Services and ambulance services in terms of emergency access to the proposed design of the vessel.
Thank you for the question. So we did consult with Vancouver Fire, and they were of the opinion that there are different options. Sorry, I'm going to back that up. Because we cannot issue a building permit for this proposal, they are unable to regulate it. When we discussed this with the applicant, they have proposed this alternative that through this classification agency and to be built to certain maritime standards, they are taking on that risk and those systems. So for fire exits and fire evacuation, that will be entirely the applicant's responsibility.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether the Vancouver Fire and Rescue Services and ambulance services will be called on. I mean, I'm assuming that once this is in place, that they would require that. And perhaps I've only got 30 seconds left, but perhaps the applicant can speak to that concern.
I would maybe refer back to the example of London, where we've been operating for 23 years. There we have a similar situation with a classification, maritime standards, regulations, oversight, annual inspections, but also very close cooperation with the local fire department in ensuring, and there will be always, incidents happening where you need to get an ambulance, you need to get the fire department to come in. But what makes this very different as a maritime floating asset, you have to imagine the situation with the passenger vessels that are in the cruise port. They too will benefit.
I've run out of time, but perhaps the next person might like to hear the rest of that answer.
But so just to conclude on that, we have a very good sort of benchmark in the way we've done that in London. We've had no problems. And it is really just cooperating with the local fire department and making sure that everybody is fully aware of what's going on and how we're going to operate this.
Okay, we are at
Thank
time. Yeah, thanks. All right, so I'm going to advance myself here. So I have some question to follow up previous counselor's question about the certification. So are all your hotel in other places around the world all having this certification for the applicant?
So we have a similar situation where you have the vessel is classified by the Classification Society, which is regulated under IMO, and flag states have sort of delegated powers to the classification societies. We always work with the local fire department. We will go through the fire and evacuation plans, get their viewpoints on that, make sure that they're happy with all the gear. So the certification comes from the classification society. To a certain extent, there may be local certification or operations or business licenses that we will, alcohol licenses that we will have to apply just like any other hotel. And so, because it's a unique proposal, this is not atypical. So we're always having to, in every jurisdiction, find the right way of working with the local authorities because it's quite unique wherever we go with this product. And so far, we've had no problems.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, so this is a global recognized certification, but
Correct.
will accommodate all the local requirements.
And they will, in all cases, surpass the landside regulations. This is typical for aircraft and maritime assets, that the certification regulations are much more stringent because of the nature of the operations on sea or in air. And so we will fulfill the equivalent or surpass the local regulations.
Okay, thanks. Another question, you mentioned there will be 200 new jobs created by these hotels. Are those all unionized positions? Or most of them are unionized?
We will engage with the local unions and our staff. We are planning to 100% local employed staffing. The local arrangement with the unions are of course very important wherever we go. We are not at that stage yet. We haven't reached out to our sort of counterparts in the unions, but we will get there at a later stage, and we will definitely consider that as well.
Okay, and there is a floating airport over there. Would that create any noise for the hotel guest?
Absolutely. Well, we have a similar setup in both London and, for example, Gibraltar, where we are located around 100 meters from the airstrip of the airport. And so one unique aspect of these maritime vessels is that they have very high insulation capabilities, U factors in terms of sound insulation and environmental insulation as well. And so we are taking that into account in our design specs. And we don't see that being an issue in our existing operations, and we don't see that being an issue with the seaplane terminal next to us.
Okay, thank you. So about the public dock, will there be a public washroom?
I will have to come back to that. We have not gone into the detailed design inside. We can definitely consider that there will be washrooms there, and since these are public spaces, I would consider them to be public washrooms, yes.
Okay, thank you. And who will be maintain that public dock? It will be the city or will be the hotel operator?
We will maintain it.
Okay. So there will be no additional cost for the city to maintain? Okay, thank you. Okay. So you mentioned that the public dock is 13,000 square feet. To put into perspective, how does that compare to, I don't know, Jacopo Plaza? I'm not sure if that may be the question for our staff. How big is that public dock, just to put into perspective for people can understand? Or some other comparable public space?
Thank you for your question. If you just give us a moment, we'll look that up.
Okay, thank you. That's all my question.
Maybe I can help you
Yeah,
with
please.
that. Not with the area, but the length. There's 315 meters of space on the north side of the convention center. We're adding about 130. So the vessel is 18 meters in beam. So subtract 18 from 315 and then add 150. That not only extends the walking area, but it means that you can look north, you can look south now and see the city skyline, which you couldn't before. You could look east to the Second Narrows Bridge and west to the Lions Gate Bridge and Stanley Park.
Okay,
Those
thank
are
you
all
very
new
much.
views.
Yeah, I just want people visualize how big is the public plaza because 13,000 square feet, people may not be realize how big it is. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you. Jackpool Plaza is approximately 46,000. So the public, this dock, 13,000 is about a third of that. I do want to just clarify for council that we are securing an SRW, but we have not defined the full scope of that SRW yet. That will be part of the DP process because some of the space on that public dock will be for private spa and cafe.
Okay, thank you. All right, so running out of time, Councillor Meisner.
Yeah, thanks. That actually is a good segue into one of my questions. On the dock, I'm not sure if it's staff or applicant, but it may be staff. Is the seating going to be publicly accessible? So if somebody doesn't buy something from the cafe, they're not going to the spa, are they still able to sit on this new dock?
Thank you for the question. So as I mentioned before, to elaborate on the SRW, we are the full scope of the SRW will be defined at the development permit process, but we have signaled to the applicant team that we are hoping for public seating and access to public for public views as well. So that fine grained detail will be determined later.
Okay, and there's no way to determine that now? I mean, I feel like we're being asked to vote on something, like that's quite a key aspect of it.
I think council could signal in its comments the intentions, but know that both staff and the applicant are listening for design development at the DP stage.
If I may
Yeah.
answer that, yes, we will have seating. You are not obliged to buy anything, especially on the roof levels and other parts. There will be seating for the public without any requirement to buy anything.
Okay, thank you. Another question around the dock. I know it's mentioned about 13,000 square feet, right? How many people, is there a capacity limit? Like, would there be a count on how many people are permitted on this dock? How does that work?
I'm sorry, I don't have that information.
Okay.
I might defer to the applicant if they have similar equivalents.
Are you aware of any capacity limits in terms of the number of people that can be on the dock at the same time?
There will have to be, not for stability or technical reasons, but for health and safety reasons. So
Okay.
we will have to have a mechanism in place to manage the peak periods, because hopefully this will become quite an attraction. So we will need to manage that.
Okay. Do you have any idea of what that number would be based on the size of the dock?
Yeah, it would definitely fit well above 100, 150 people at any given time.
Okay.
Depends on the final layout, and we will be developing these plans as we go forward.
Okay, thank you. So for the city, I believe, given the somewhat temporary nature of this, is there a term to this? I mean, is there a timeline? Can it be there for 300 years? Is it limited? I want to get a sense of, what if the operator decides to pull up shop? Does the dock remain? Who owns the dock if the operator decides to, leave with the vessel? Just some of those questions.
Okay, thank you for the question. The text amendment is permanent. Once the density is allocated, it is there, regardless of who decides to use it. The owner, the landowner, future operators could use it. I would address the temporary nature to the applicant. However, my understanding is that the applicant will be, the Sunborn will, through the Vancouver Harbor Flight Center, will be signing a lease with the landowner, PAVCO.
Okay.
And through that, their lease terms will determine how long that might be, the proposal will be in that location.
Okay. Are you able to share what lease term you're looking at?
It is limited in time. I believe it's 2060.
2060. Okay, thank you.
And underneath it, you have the master lease that Vancouver Harbor Flight Center has. That has a time limitation on it as well. And so that definitely sets the end limit to how long we can be there.
Okay. Who would own the dock?
It would be in the balance sheet of the Vancouver company that we're setting up for this project.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And then I wasn't clear on the access. So there was a mention about the elevator and the stairs. The access to this public area, is that not going to be at the same level as the seawall? Like you're going to have to take an elevator or take stairs to go down to another dock, or how's that going to work?
That is correct. So at the seawall, the upper perimeter seawall is about 9 meters above sea level.
Yeah.
You have to, like the harbor, like the float planes for harbor air, you have to kind of go forward onto a dolphin platform. There's an
Yeah.
elevator down, and then you go right down to the water onto a floating dock into the water.
Okay. Was it looked at to have a more kind of seamless connection to the seawall? Is that possible? Like from an engineering perspective?
I would be speculating here, but it wasn't the proposal that was put forward, and I'm not certain that something that's quite as seamless would exactly match with the needs of this proposal.
Mhm.
But really, the idea is that the public gets access down to the water level as well.
Yeah. I'm going to run out of time, but maybe someone else can pick up on it. Yeah. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Councilor Dominado.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the presentations. A couple of questions. Just circling back with a typical bricks and mortar development, we do pursue and have framework for DCLs because of pressures on sewer, water, all infrastructure in the city. Could staff just comment on what they see or foresee as any servicing needs or demands? It sounds like there may not be a lot, but compared to traditional developments we see, but could you comment on that?
This floating hotel will be serviced similarly to a hotel of this size. Anywhere else in the city is going to require sewer, it's going to require water, and electricity. There's no gas, as I understand. So those are the three main services. Transportation access as well on our streets will serve this site.
Okay. And as I understood it, you did request a contribution towards DCLs. Any further comments on that in terms of impact or financial impact on the city of not having that?
If I could ask my colleague Chris Clibben, he's online, to speak about what is the purpose of DCLs in general. It's not just about servicing the proposal in front of you.
Sure, yeah.
Chris?
Yep, thank you, Chair. Good evening, Council. Yeah, DCL. Had this been a land site subject to traditional development, it would pay both the citywide and the utilities DCL, which would add up to, for commercial development, would be roughly $26 per square foot on each square foot of floor area. Those revenues would go to off-site infrastructure and amenities. So they would fund towards the citywide utility system, transportation upgrades citywide, child care facilities, affordable housing, parks infrastructure. So those would be the types of things that would be funded from DCLs that we're not getting. So that there are no off-site improvements from this project because we're not collecting DCLs.
Okay.
Just want to clarify that staff felt that we were justified in asking for a contribution equivalent to DCLs because DCLs do serve a wider, it serves for growth across the city. I would defer to the applicant as to why they do or do not wish to make that contribution.
Okay, thank you for that. Maybe I'm just going to watch my time here because I have another question. Did the applicant want to comment on that any further? I know we've talked about the dock and the publicly accessible space adjacent to the hotel, which I think is fantastic, but any further comments on the DCLs?
Perhaps I can answer your question as far as the utilities are concerned. There are no extra capacities required from the city, so there's no capital works to be paid for. There is more than what we need in the convention center already. So the gray water, the black water, the electricity, the only thing that would go up ever so slightly, possibly, is fresh water, but there's a gauge on that and you pay for it by the cubic foot. So there's no incremental cost.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. And then I do want to ask, and this stems from both, staff, as you know, we are undertaking planning for the Central Downtown Waterfront. I've had a resident ask me about, whether this proposal, they read somewhere that this was phase 2 and there's a phase 3, but is there, will it preclude further planning and implementation of other infrastructure in and around the convention centers for the future as we still do the long-term planning? And again, recognizing there's a number of property owners in that area. Could you comment on that in terms of sort of future-proofing and how we work with such a proposal.
Can you clarify a question? My understanding is, are you asking if there is further planning that is happening for this particular area?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't very clear. One, is there further planning around this particular application? And two, how do we align this with the central downtown waterfront planning that's underway for the city, which is a much longer term project? So yes, two questions.
There is no further planning for this particular area, which is covered on the Cole Harbor ODP, and the Cole Harbor ODP is largely built out. There could be a future phase. You may notice between this proposal and the floatplane terminal, there is a middle, but there's nothing currently proposed there at this time. It would fall under the Cole Harbor ODP. The central waterfront area plan work is underway. They are aware of this proposal, but we're actually right at the boundary. We're not within the scope of the central waterfront, but they are fully aware of this.
Okay, super. Thanks for interpreting my questions for me.
Thanks, Councillor. All right, Councillor Clausen.
Thanks very much, Chair. A lot of my questions have been asked and good discussion here on this project. Just wanted to maybe start with a question around sort of high-level lessons that the applicant will have learned from their experience in London and Gibraltar. What are the sort of the takeaways from those installations, and how do you apply some of those lessons here in Vancouver?
You mean technically or universally?
I'm probably less technical because we are really kind of talking about access to public realm here. So maybe just the experience of,
Right.
of the
Well,
community around it.
as my background is a hotelier, I understand hotels, and you know, the hotel market is very homogeneous. Over 1 million hotels around the world. They're all very, very similar in style and standard these days. And so what every hotelier is looking for is that competitive advantage. How do you set yourself apart? And that's what we've learned in our previous operations, that these tend to have that natural appeal, a natural competitive advantage. It is a unique proposal. They complement the waterfronts. And so we tend to get clients who are looking for something out of the ordinary. It's about experiential hospitality. And so that gives us more leeway in terms of the segmentation. We're not reliant on any particular segment, but we are able to get the leisure clients, the corporate clients, the exhibition market, the convention market. And so keeping our prices yielding at the right levels to make sure that we're, you know, contributing to those segments and we're not pricing ourselves out of the market. That's been a lesson that we've sort of been learning and have mastered. That's one thing.
Just a practical question about entering and exiting the hotel. Obviously, you're going to have guests coming and going on a regular basis. How is that going to be managed? It looks like it would most likely be managed through the parking level, but I'm not entirely sure. Is there an explanation to that?
I think most of the clients are going to, just like I'm walking around the area, if I'm going to the hotels, I'm walking on the city street level. I think that's the main arrival point. People arriving by car, by vehicles, by taxis are arriving at the designated areas inside PAVCO and then accessing the waterfront through that. It is a very busy area. We're carefully managing that bicycle traffic and footfall traffic, and it's a very, very busy. I've been there a couple of times in the summer, and it's amazing how many people you can fit into that area. But that's the main access point. All the servicing, all of our deliveries are going to be in the undercroft or the loading bay area underneath the VCC. So that takes a lot of the pressure away from the promenade. So only the client access is going to be from there. And so we're going to manage that.
Do we have any guarantee that the waterfront access that is a part of this won't someday become privatized?
Yes, you can have our guarantee.
Okay. The PAVCO and the convention center is well known for its environmental measures that is done in terms of wastewater treatment and what have you. I presume that a project like the Sunmore Hotel with its high efficiency standards would be trying to tap into some of those same standards in terms of wastewater and what have you.
Absolutely. I think it's a compelling story that probably the world's most sustainable convention center is coupled with a low carbon, energy efficient hotel. And then where in fact, the way we've investigated connecting to the PAFCO systems, because they are lacking volume for some of their thermal systems, for example, taking the heat exchangers from the wastewater. So we're going to be contributing to those systems because they were built for much larger capacity that is currently being used. So they work hand in hand, and there's a great sort of synergy between the two operations, technically.
Thanks. And do you envision with that that waterfront access activating it in different ways, potentially either music or other attractions that might be very appealing to people that are wanting to visit it?
I think we haven't considered any live music. We're very conscious about the disturbance in noise and otherwise. We think that the spa and cafe and the public dock and the hotel will become a destination and attraction point on its own without having to have a circus inside it. So we will consider those if those are acceptable to the city and they are demanded. But at this time, we haven't sort of really planned for
my time there. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
So this is the second call for the speaker. We should speak to council about this item. This Sorry. All right, so this is second call for speakers. If you wish to speak to council about this item, please call toll free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and displayed during the recess. We will now hear from the public speakers. Any speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the public speaker podiums on the left when it is your turn. The podium height can be adjusted using the controls on the right-hand side. Phone-in speakers will be unmuted when it is your turn to speak. Speakers will have up to 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merit of the application being considered. Our first registered speaker is speaker number 1, Gavin Wheeland. In person, Gavin? Okay. We can come back. Speaker number 2 is Royce Trevin. Royce?
Thank you. Good evening, Acting Mayor Zhao and Council. Royce Trevin, President and CEO of Destination Vancouver and Vancouver resident. I'd like to begin with a few concerns. Too big, block views, would feel like a wall along the shoreline, tacky, out-of-place structure, and it'll disrupt the character of Cole Harbour and limit public access. Those comments are not about the proposal before you today. Those were the comments and more about the Vancouver Convention Centre West, the world's first double LEED Platinum certified convention center. Today, that building is an architectural icon. It's a globally recognized facility and a cornerstone of our visitor economy. And in fact, it did not diminish the waterfront. It elevated it. It didn't reduce access. It expanded it. So we've been here before. The Sunborn 250-room floating hotel proposal is another one of those moments. Yes, there are concerns. You've heard them. Environmental impact, views fit with the waterfront. They're very valid and they deserve careful consideration. But this is not a careless project. If it was, Destination Vancouver would not support. This, we believe, is a very thoughtfully designed, publicly accessible, low-carbon structure, as you saw in the presentation, that reflects Vancouver's values and needs. Designed to integrate with the public realm and public access, supporting urgently needed hotel capacity, environmentally focused and grounded, and it complements, does not compete with, the convention center. The existing Sunborn floating hotels demonstrate that this can be done to an incredibly high standard, architecturally, environmentally, and operationally. So this isn't theory, it works. This is also about a very real constraint, as we know. We are short hotel rooms, that is a fact. And the Sunborn project would be a unique addition to our hotel accommodations and would bolster our global destination competitiveness. Vancouver's reputation was not built on always playing it safe. It was built on thoughtful risk, strong design, and a willingness to do things a bit differently, especially on our waterfront. The convention center reminds us that early skepticism does not always predict the final outcomes, but the right design and oversight, projects like the Sunborn Hotel can become assets we're proud of for years to come. and it also supports a $9 billion annual and growing visitor economy and would add to the 70,000 plus jobs that have been created. So in closing, I would encourage council to view this proposal not just through the lens of risk, but through the lens of opportunity, an opportunity to strengthen our visitor economy, enhance our waterfront, demonstrate leadership in sustainable design, increase our destination competitiveness, and once again, choose thoughtful progress over hesitation. Let's be a leader. We've seen what happens when Vancouver gets it right, and this is another chance to do exactly that. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks, Royce. Okay, speaker number 3 has withdrawn. Speaker number 4 is Michelle Travis. In person? Oh, there we go. No. Michelle, is it Michelle? Okay, please go ahead.
Good evening. Mayor and Council, my name is Michelle Travis. I'm here on behalf of Unite Here, Local 40, and am a resident of Vancouver. We urge you to reject this proposal. As proposed, the structure would be roughly 6 stories high and as long as 2 NHL hockey rinks, permanently moored or semi-permanently moored along one of Vancouver's most iconic waterfronts. It would wall off public views, dominate the shoreline, and effectively privatize a portion of our shared harborfront for the benefit of a single developer. This is not a small or short-term addition. It's a large semi-permanent intrusion into a landmark public space. Its height is more than double what is currently permitted at the nearby marina. It would obstruct key sightlines along the seawall from the end of Burrard Street and from major public spaces like the Convention Center and Canada Place. These aren't incidental views. They're central to Vancouver's identity for residents and visitors alike. Cruise ships come and go, but this is long-term. And it shifts public views from street level to dock level views away from everyday pedestrian flow. Second, the proposal raises safety and environmental concerns. Unlike other hotels, this hotel would not be subject to a building permit or an occupancy permit, which means the city would have less oversight over critical issues related to fire safety, structural integrity, and evacuation procedures. We're being asked to trust a third-party inspector based overseas to monitor these standards. We're concerned how the city would stay on top of monitoring this third party. We're also talking about putting a large structure in a sensitive marine environment with unresolved questions about sewage management and environmental impact. Having looked at the application materials, there are many mocked-up aerial views of how the floatel will look. None of them really illustrate just how much of the public views will be obstructed from popular gathering spots along the parts of the seawall that will be affected. There are a few photos of viewpoints that would be affected, but doesn't really give you a sense of the blocking of the public view. One could glance at the postcard that was notifying the public and area residents about the hotel and assume it would have very little impact. We don't think the public has really been properly informed about what the impact is going to be on those views. Third, the public benefits offered are inadequate. In exchange for taking over public waterfront space, the developer is offering little more than the dock access, primarily to serve their spa and cafe. That is not a meaningful public benefit. It's a convenience for their business. Even more concerning, the developer has refused to provide the $3.6 million in contributions requested by the city. They avoid the standard development cost levies that other projects must pay. In effect, we're giving away public space without securing fair value in return. This proposal does not align with existing planning policy. The Cole Harbour official development plan did not anticipate a permanent or semi-permanent floating hotel in the water. Finally, I ask you to consider priorities. We're told this is necessary to address a hotel room shortage, but the city of Vancouver has already approved about 3,000 hotel rooms. Meanwhile, we are in the midst of a real affordability crisis. Many Vancouver residents, especially hospitality workers, are being squeezed and struggle to afford to live here. So our question is, what's the rush? The city's hotel policy aims for 10,000 rooms by 2050, not 2026. Yet 3,000 rooms, as I mentioned, have been approved and another 3,700 are in the pipeline. And that's a very rapid influx of hotel rooms. We question if this is really what the council should be prioritizing right now, given some of the concerns that we've raised. We feel that this is a giveaway to a private developer with very little in return. We think there are not enough in terms of meaningful public benefits, and we're concerned about this proposal. We think it's a bad deal for the city, and we urge you to reject the proposal.
Thank you. All right, speaker number 5 is Abraham Rodriguez. Online?
Hi.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah. I want to say this in Spanish. So, mi nombre es Abraham Rodríguez, soy residente de Vancouver desde hace mucho tiempo y me opongo a este proyecto. Vancouver es una ciudad muy cara, mucha gente que conozco tiene dificultades para pagar alquiler y la comida y otros gastos básicos. Así que cuando oigo hablar de una propuesta como esta en el hotel flotante, me pregunto, ¿qué es esto realmente en que deberíamos centrarnos ahora mismo? El Consejo ya ha aprobado unas 3,000 habitaciones de hotel y otras 6,500 en trámite. Eso indica que no nos faltan habitaciones de hotel, pero sí nos faltan viviendas accesibles. Nos faltan opciones para trabajadores, las familias y los jóvenes que intentan quedarse y vivir en la ciudad. Este proyecto no ayuda en nada, no hace la vida más fácil o accesible para los que vivimos en Vancouver. Y no aporta beneficios públicos. En cambio, parece que este beneficio es una compañía extranjera. Y el resto, nos preguntamos cómo vamos a salir adelante. El promotor no ofrece mucho en cambio. Es mal negocio para nosotros. Ahora mismo necesitamos algo más para los que vivimos aquí. Por favor, rechacen esta propuesta y concéntrenos en lo que más importa en los residentes de Vancouver. Gracias.
Okay, thank you. Speaker number 6. Yeah, speaker number 6 is Bert Hick. Bert?
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Bert. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I own a company called Rising Tide Consultants. It comes from the historic phrase of on a rising tide lifts all boats. Well, in this case, rising tide's going to lift a hotel, a floating hotel. And I support this application 100%. I live and work in Vancouver, and I think this is a very innovative, creative application. I'm in Nanaimo attending the British Columbia Hotel Association convention, and we had a session today where they were talking about the shortage of hotel rooms in Vancouver, and we still need more hotels. And I think this is a very interesting, innovative solution to it. If approved, it will be the first of its kind in Canada, and to me, it will help support the tourism convention industry and be a unique attraction for visitors. I think it will activate what I consider a dead area in the harbor and provide a new, interesting dining, lounge, and hotel experience. To me, this proposal increases, not decreases, the public access to the walkway because of the creation and the waterfront, because of the creation of the outdoor dock area space will be open to the public. But furthermore, more importantly, it will further activate the Vancouver waterfront and evolve the waterfront that has not had any significant development since 2010 when the Vancouver Trade and Convention Center was expanded during the 2010 Winter Olympics. And I think that this is very creative, forward thinking, and I don't think it will be detrimental to the city whatsoever. I love how the the hotel's been positioned in the water so that it does not impede the views and will provide even a better sightline from the cafe and the spa area back to the city. So I would encourage the city to support this. I think it's creative, and we have to take bold steps to move forward because we're competing on a world stage, and I think this would be a wonderful asset for the city. And my hat's off to Graham Clark for his creativity. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bert. Speaker number 7 is Naya Hollers.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Naya Hollers, and I live in Vancouver. I oppose this plan. We're being asked to give up part of our public waterfront in Cole Harbour for a huge private floating hotel. So what does the public get in return? From what I can see, very little. The main benefit being offered is a dock walkway to the flotel, but the walkway is needed to access the development itself. It serves the spa and restaurant uses and limits hours to the public from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's not a meaningful public benefit. That's infrastructure for the project. At the same time, the developer is avoiding contributions that other projects would normally make. There's no standard development cost levy because there's no building permit. They've refused the city's request for a $3.6 million contribution. So they're asking for policy changes, taking up public space, and contributing less than expected. That's not a fair deal. The public is giving up views, space, and access, and getting a walkway to the flotel that the flotel needs for their businesses in return. The council should be protecting public assets, not giving them away. The good news is you don't lose anything by saying no. You simply keep what already belongs to the public. This proposal does not serve the public interest. Please reject it. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 8 is Robert Safrata.
Good afternoon, and thanks for your time. I appreciated the previous speaker's viewpoint. I'm a Vancouver resident in opposition to this proposal. I sincerely wish I could be in Vancouver as the former owner of West Coast Sightseeing. I know that this location can truly define the future of Vancouver. Imagine Sydney before the Opera House. Imagine Bilbao, Spain before the Guggenheim Museum, and Chicago now with Millennium Park. Putting this hotel in the space does not achieve anything like that. I did submit a number of visuals, which I hope are being displayed at the moment. I see them now.
Yes, Robert.
Thank you. This is an overhead view of a proposal that was submitted at the invitation of the Vancouver Harbour Flight Centre in 2018 and 2019. And using world-class advisors and resources, including Ken Height Creative, PGAV Destinations, and Dialogue, who I see sitting there today. Hello. The moniker we had was, if you build it for tourists, the locals will hate it. If you build it for locals, the tourists will love it. And I'd appreciate if you'd still show it from above. That's a public park. That's the roof. It's a public park. It's a tremendous public amenity. Outdoor activations can happen. People can do yoga there. They can sit there during lunch. They can increase their view. And it can hold hundreds, if not thousands, of people. Underneath it, and you don't have the visual for that, but underneath it is actually a hotel with about 180 very small rooms, because the amenities include a couple of restaurants looking out over the water, a Scandinave spa type thing, plunging into the water there. If you go to the next slide, you can see that there's space for water taxis. I think in the future, you could imagine transportation to West Vancouver. I see we are announced now water taxis to Gibson's and Bowen Island. So many, many public amenities and attractions underneath that. The things that made places like the Guggenheim and the Opera House and the Millennium, that brought them together, was they led with aspiration, not mitigation. We have lots of hotel rooms coming online. And they used a single catalytic project to reset global perception. That's the opportunity we would be giving up right now. They also delivered places locals embraced first, because tourism followed. To the councillors there, I urge you to look at your Google Maps, to look from above at the Sunborn hotels in Gibraltar and Sunborn London. It's not pretty. They're jammed into marinas as just another hotel. I think we need to do much better than this in this iconic location. I'll finish with a few questions that I hope you will answer in your hearts and tonight. I noticed that this is called Phase 3 and Phase 2 in between is left blank. You could go to the third slide. The height of our former proposal, which I am no longer involved in. I want to be clear about this. I am no longer involved in this. This is now open to the public and others to achieve. Is at the 9-meter height, so it does not block any views. But I see in my look at this that there's only an 850 square foot cafe for public use. My reading is that there's only 3,000 square feet at about half the width of the seawall walkway above. When I heard earlier that 150 people could use the public space, that would equal about, I wrote it down here, 150, 2,000 square feet. And my view is that there's 3,000 square feet of public space, not 13,000 square feet, which would accommodate up to 1,800 people standing. Why would the city allow minimal public benefit and block view lines and give up this iconic opportunity to define the city and its future as other great cities have?
Thank you, Robert. That's your time. Thank you.
Thank
Okay, speaker number 9 is Robert Demand.
Hi, my name is Robert Demand. I'm a resident of Vancouver and the Secretary-Treasurer of Unite Here Local 40. I wanted to speak about safety and accountability concerns. Others have raised concerns about the scale and the impact of this project and the limited public benefits that would come with it. Another concerning part of the proposal is, if approved, the city will not be issuing building permits or occupancy permits for this floating hotel. Permits that every other hotel in Vancouver must have to operate in this city. Normally, those permits are how the city ensures that buildings meet standards for life safety, things like fire protection, structural integrity, and evacuation plans. In this case, the direct oversight isn't there. Instead, the applicant is proposing to use a third-party inspector based overseas. And we've heard all kinds of references to the Classification Society and why we should accept that. But I would say that that's not good enough, because it simply raises the question, why would the city give this up and take it to a distant third party to do the job that the city normally does? The staff has reported, report says that the third party would notify the city if they discover safety issues, but that means that the city could be reacting too late, not actively ensuring safety from the start. We just don't think this is good enough. If something goes wrong, it's the people here in Vancouver, guests, workers, first responders, who are going to deal with the consequences. And with municipal budget cuts and layoffs, I'm concerned that the city staff will be too overburdened to adequately monitor whether a third party has done their due diligence on safety concerns here in Vancouver. We shouldn't outsource this basic building and safety standard for a project like this. City Hall seems hell-bent on pushing through every hotel project that comes along, regardless of the cost. We don't need this project. The developer will be taking more from the public than they're offering in return, and it raises basic safety concerns. I would urge you to reject this proposal due to the lack of accountability to the city, the safety risks that are inherent in this flotel without direct city monitoring. And I can't help but come back to the lack of DCL payments. That $3.6 million is something absolutely tangible, and it should be going towards childcare, affordable housing, parks, things that residents all around the city feel we need more of, and we need it now. And last, I would just say, there's a public dock is not a meaningful community amenity contribution. We can do much better than this. We would urge you to, again, reject this full stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 10 is Elfina Lambertus. Lambertus. Turn on the line. Okay, speaker number 10, sorry, I may mispronounce your name. Elfina Lambertus. Oh, okay, yeah, please go ahead.
Good evening, Council. My name is Elfina. I'm also a long-time Vancouver resident, and I work in a downtown hotel. I don't support this project. I know how important the waterfront is, not just for a visitor, but for all of us who live and work here. I can walk around the corner and take in the waterfront view down Burat Street. I like many others who enjoy it now, that's something we shouldn't take for granted. This proposal will put a large permanent structure right in that space. It will block view and change the feeling of the area. And for what? We already have hotels. We already have place for people to stay. What we don't have is endless supplies of public waterfront. Once we give that up, we don't get it back. What the developer is offering in the return is basically a public walkaway and spa and cafe. I understand the developer doesn't want to pay the 3.6 million community contribution the city asked for. The city shouldn't allow this project to move forward, especially if they won't pay the fair share. We need the city to focus on how to make our city more affordable, and not for projects like this that give away what we love about our city. This project give away too much to developer with too little in return for the rest of us. Please reject it. Thank you.
Number 11 is Matthew DiMarchi.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Great. I'm opposed to this proposal. I fear this is another path to quasi-privatization, but that really is just the first problem here. There's very little contribution to the city, and as we know, our city has crumbling community centers and old playgrounds. And council is considering a plan here that allows for no or very little contribution for those kinds of things. For example, the gym at Killarney Center is like a closet. The gym at Renfrew Center smells like asbestos to me. And the gym at Riley Park is half the size it should be for the amount of demand it sees. All of this needs to be improved on, and there's no money for it. And we're not asking for any money for any of these developers for it. And quite frankly, the city needs more money for these kinds of developments. And the city's finances are a complete mess because we've given away these kinds of deals to developers for decades, through housing booms, through hotel building booms, through any kind of booms. We have all these sorts of giveaways, and the finances take a hit every single time. And so the question is, what about the residents? The proponent talks about his competitive advantage. What about our competitive advantage in the city? Why can we not levy our competitive advantage? The ocean, the views, the mountains, the seawall, these are our competitive advantages. The hoteliers, the developers, they want a piece of that action. Why can we not demand money for our competitive advantage? The mountains, the views, they want a piece of it, pay for it. We need new community centers. We need infrastructure. Pay for this kind of stuff. I am opposed to this project, and I ask you to please oppose the project. And if people want to come and build these kinds of projects, then they need to help build the city. They need to help build the city. And the city is not hotels. The city is playgrounds and parks and community centers and things for the workers and people of the city. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. You have one question from a counselor, Councillor Clausen.
Hi, Matthew. Are you still there?
Yes.
Hi there. I see that you identify as an organizer with Unite Here. Is that correct?
That's right, yes.
Okay. I've just been had shared with me a solicitation for people to be paid $30 an hour to canvass and do and speak at council. Are you involved in organizing that campaign?
No, not at all. And I don't believe we pay anybody to speak at council.
So, to your knowledge, there is nobody being paid to come to speak tonight.
No, not that I'm aware of. No,
All
absolutely
right.
not.
Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks, Councillor.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Matthew. Speaker number 12 is Pamela Fitzpatrick. That one, yeah. Thank you.
My name is Pamela Fitzpatrick and I live in Vancouver. I oppose this motion. Sunborn's proposed floating hotel is a new territory for Vancouver and as such requires extraordinary examination. Reading the posted documents raises many issues for me. I'll start with emergencies. Emergency and service vehicles have no direct access to the building, but must enter the basement of the adjacent convention center, which could be congested with people and vehicles. The personnel must walk from there via an elevator and a very long walkway. Did you know that not all elevators can accommodate a stretcher? Has anyone asked emergency or delivery personnel to review those logistics? Practicalities must be anticipated and addressed at this stage, not in afterthought. For emergency evacuations, there are only 2 outside exits, both on the east side, and 2 interior stairwells. Additional stairwells and exits are essential to accommodate the potential chaos of 1,000 people scrambling frantically to exit a long and narrow building. What effect do daily tides have on the horizontal angle of the walkways? Do they become tipped, impacting the public, the emergency access or evacuations, the daily fresh deliveries or waste removal, and any repairs or renovations? Again, operational impracticalities must be identified and addressed. The referral report makes no mention of how the building is assessed for taxes. Is this a lease situation? Does it have time limits? What about a review or renegotiations? It all leads me to wonder, does this building comply with the BC Building Code? Sunborn is to us an unknown foreign owned corporation and will construct the building elsewhere, then tow it into place. The designs and inspections are to be provided by a foreign third party. Therefore, the city will not have the authority over design, oversight, or control for safety, fire protection, structural integrity, or evacuation procedures. During an infection outbreak, for example, our own health inspectors will have no authority, access, or control. It is imperative for the city to retain that power, or it will become vulnerable. In the event of a health or safety issue that is not rectified promptly, the city, who may be unaware of the issue, proactively requires immediate removal of the building from the dock. How could that happen? This is not a ship fastened with mooring ropes. It's a building with at least 6 fixed attachments to the convention center and land, so promptly won't occur. Where are the far-off inspectors? What authority orders removal, and what company or who is obligated to respond? What happens to the people on board? What about the suspended walkways? Where would the building be taken to? Will it wander aimlessly around the harbor? What if Sunborn doesn't or can't remove it? This requirement is weak, vague, and impractical, and again leaves the city vulnerable. Sunborn's intention is for proprietary fire suppression. If that becomes insufficient or fails, will our city fire boats be expected to come to the rescue? Again, vulnerability. Public benefits are almost non-existent from Sunborn. a minor fee of $225,000 for the West Dock, no community amenity contributions in spite of a city-requested donation of $3.6 million. Just a West Side Dock addition with 2 for-profit businesses taking up half the space. What's a spa doing there anyway? Not only is there another spa within the building, but their clients lie down. They close their eyes and they have no need for or gain from a private view of the North Shore Mountains. So where's the good corporate citizenship of a company asking for special permission to occupy our sacred public space? What does that say about future cooperation from Sunborn? Is the city being taken for a ride? What do you know about Sunborn apart from what they tell you? And what is the experience of London's similar project, and how were any unexpected problems handled? How has the stated new technology been tested? This project prioritizes an invaluable and sacred public amenity which belongs to the public. To me, significant issues mean that the project has not been sufficiently scrutinized, leaving the city at risk, and therefore needs further attention before a decision is made. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. Okay, speaker number 13 is Felicia Perry.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Perfect. Good evening. I work in downtown Vancouver, and I am against this proposal. Right now, affordability is the defining issue in the city. Many of us are struggling to pay rent, to stay in our communities, and to build a future here. Against that backdrop, this proposal feels completely disconnected from reality. This flotel is far too large. It exceeds the intended height of the marina by more than double and introduces a permanent oversized structure into a space that was never intended for hotel use. The Cole Harbour plan didn't even contemplate hotels in this area and are certainly not something of this scale. But beyond policy, there's the impact on everyday life. This project will block key public views along the seawall towards the North Shore Mountains and at the end of the Burrard Street. These are views that everyone enjoys, regardless of income. They are part of what makes Vancouver feels like it belongs to all of us. And what are we getting in exchange? A dock that mainly serves the flotel? That's not enough. Meanwhile, the developers has refused to provide $3.6 million in contribution requested by the city. At the same time, thousands of hotel rooms have already been approved, with thousands more on the way. Yet, people who live and work here are struggling to find housing they can afford. So, I have to ask, why is this the priority? Why are we bending policy, giving up public space and accepting minimal benefits for a project that doesn't do anything to address affordability? This feels like a giveaway to a private developer at a time when we should be focusing on housing, community, and livability, so that more young people and working families can live here. I urge you to oppose this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, speaker number 14 is Preet Sangha. Preet, before you start, as a procedure question, can I ask you if you are residents of Vancouver?
I'm not, no.
Okay, please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Preet Sangha. I work in Vancouver. I actually went to elementary school in Vancouver as well. I've since moved out. This proposal asks you to approve a large permanent structure in one of the most iconic parts of our city, Cole Harbour. It doesn't align with existing city policy. It exceeds intended height limits. It won't go through normal permitting. It offers limited public benefit, and it risks taking away something that people deeply value. That's a lot to overlook. People come to Vancouver for the views, for places like the seawall, where you can see the mountains and the water together in a way that feels open. This project would put a wall into that experience, shifting access from the existing pedestrian promenade to a more distant dock level entry point will reduce accessibility and everyday use. The public dock the developer is offering serves their business interests more than the rest of us. We don't need this flotel. There are already thousands of hotel rooms approved. This isn't about meeting demand. It's about accommodating a specific private developer's proposal. What we need is for the council to stop rushing these projects through and to focus instead on making our city more affordable for regular working class people. This is a bad deal for Vancouver. I urge you to vote no on this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, speaker number 15 is Robert Bader. Robert? Okay, Robert Bader, are you there? Speaker 15, Robert Bader, are you online? Okay, I'm gonna call one more time and then I'm gonna move forward. Is Speaker Robert Bader, are you online? Okay. Speaker 16 is Steve Cashmore.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Steve Cashmore. I'm a Vancouver resident and I work in our hospitality industry. I oppose this project. This project is, the flotel is too big. It will block important sightlines along the seawall at the end of the Burrard Bridge, Burrard Street, and towards the North Shore Mountains. There are some of the most photographed and experienced views in the city. If we start chipping away at these views, we undermine the very thing that makes Vancouver special. It's also important to note that the city has already approved thousands of hotel rooms. Meanwhile, the people who work in tourism, servers, cooks, room attendants, and others, myself included, are struggling to find affordable housing. Many of us can't afford to live close to where we work. We are being asked to accept an oversized development that takes up public waterfront space, blocks key views, and offers minimal public benefit. The developers even refuse to provide the financial contributions requested by the city. On top of that, the project won't be subject to the same city inspections as other hotels. No building permit, no occupancy permit, and less oversight on safety. That should concern everyone, especially in an industry where guest safety is critical. The proposal is wrong for a city. It does nothing to address affordability for the people who actually keep the city running. I urge you to regret it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Speaker 17 is Christina Figueroa. Please go ahead, Christina.
Good evening, Council. My name is Christina Figueroa. I live in Vancouver. I'm a resident. I'm here to speak in opposition to this plan. I'm concerned about questions related to safety and city oversight and public benefits being offered. If this floating hotel moves forward, it will not be subject to the same rules as other hotels in Vancouver. That means no building permit, no occupancy permit, and less direct oversight from the city. Instead, a third party will be responsible for overseeing the basic safety measures. To me, that is a huge red flag. We're talking about a huge structure that will be used by guests, staff, and visitors. Normally, the city ensures that buildings meet strict standards for safety with fire safety, structural integrity, and evacuation processes. That's how we keep people safe. But in this case, the applicant is proposing to rely on a third-party inspector based outside of Canada. That raises serious concerns. Who are they accountable to? What standards are they using? And how can residents here feel confident that safety is being properly enforced? If something goes wrong, who will face the consequences? The staff report says that the third party will notify the city if they discover safety issues, but who will ensure this? Will the city be left to react after the fact? The city should not outsource inspections, especially for a massive floating hotel. Public safety should never be outsourced or treated as an afterthought. I'm also concerned that City Hall seems willing to trade away our public waterfront to a private floatel developer and receive so little in return. How much would a comparable hotel project on land have to provide in development cost levies and community amenity contributions? The owner is refusing to pay $3.6 million that the city asked for. If this project is approved, our city will be shortchanged. Further, Vancouver is an amazing city. It's also an expensive one. A lot of people I know are struggling to afford rent, groceries, and basic living costs. So when I hear about a proposal like this one, a floating hotel for visitors, I have to ask, is this really what we should be focusing on right now? Council has already approved around 3,000 hotels with about 3,500 more on the way. That tells me that we're not exactly short on hotels. But we are short on affordable housing. We're short on options for working people, families, and young people like myself trying to stay in this city. This project doesn't help with that. It doesn't help make life more affordable, it doesn't create housing, and it doesn't deliver real public benefits. Instead, it looks like a win for the private overseas developer, while the rest of us are left wondering how we're supposed to keep up. And right now, we need housing, affordability, and investments that support people who live here, like myself. Please reject this proposal and focus on what matters most to Vancouver residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Speaker number 18 is Tori Cooper. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Sorry, not Mayor. My name is Tori Cooper, and I am a Vancouver resident, and I have some concerns about this proposal. It raises a fundamental question: who is this city being built for? The flotel is simply too big. It exceeds the intended height for the marina by more than double and introduces a structure that will block public views and privatize a portion of our waterfront. To allow this, Council would need to amend some existing policies that never anticipated a floating hotel right in the view line of the North Shore, and that should not be taken lightly. And what are we getting in return? Not enough. A public dock that primarily serves the development itself is being presented as a public benefit. Meanwhile, the developer has refused to provide the $3.6 million in contributions requested by the city. That is not a fair exchange, it's a giveaway. You're also being asked to accept reduced oversight. No building permit, no occupancy permit, and reliance on a third-party inspector overseas. For a project of this size, that is simply not acceptable. Then there's the broader context. Council has already approved thousands of hotels. At the same time, affordability remains one of the biggest challenges facing Vancouver residents. So again, we have to ask, is this Council's priority an oversized hotel that takes public space, blocks public views, avoids standard oversight, and contributes very little back to the community? Or should we be focusing on policies that support affordability, livability, and fairness? Unfortunately, this proposal fails that test, and so I urge you to reject this and protect Vancouver's existing waterfront for the public, not private gain. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.
Thank you. All right, speaker number 19 is Sean Lavold. On.
Speaker 19 is not on the line.
Okay. Speaker 20 is Joshua Davidson.
Good evening, Council. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead, Josh.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Joshua Davidson. I'm speaking on behalf of the Downtown Vancouver Business Improvement Association, commonly known as Downtown Van. We represent 8,000 businesses across the downtown core. I'm also a resident of Vancouver. Downtown Van is supportive of the proposed Sunborn floating hotel. At its core, this is about strengthening the visitor economy and supporting small businesses that rely on it. Tourism is a major driver downtown, but right now we are constrained by limited hotel supply, and that limits our ability to fully benefit from the visitor demand. More hotel capacity means more overnight visitors, and that's essential. Overnight visitors stay longer, spend more, and support restaurants, retailers, and the entertainment venues across our district. To put it in context, last year, our main retail corridors didn't see growth. They just saw stabilization. So this isn't about adding excess. It's about unlocking economic activity that we're currently missing. There are also the broader benefits. More people downtown helps create a more active, animated environment, supporting vibrancy, encouraging people to stay longer, and importantly, contributing to the improved perceptions of safety. Now, I do want to acknowledge that there's been concerns around the waterfront, particularly around the views and the public access. While there are valid concerns and considerations, from our perspective, this proposal is not about taking something away, it's about adding to it. It introduces new public viewpoints, strengthens the connection to the water, and creates a more engaging, activated waterfront experience. And more broadly, this is about evolution. Cities like Vancouver cannot stand still, especially in key areas like our waterfront. Thoughtful, well-executed investments are what keep downtowns dynamic, competitive, and resilient. From our perspective, this is exactly what that kind of investment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joshua. Speaker number 21 is Pascal Browniman.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Council. My name is Pascal Browniman. I live here in Vancouver. I'm calling to express my opposition to this project. This project is too large. It more than doubles the permanent height and introduces a permanent structure that was never intended for a hotel use. It was never envisioned by any city plan to build a hotel at this unlikely location. Oversized as it is, it would block public views along the seawall. The view is iconic, it defines Vancouver, and it cannot be replaced. A public accessible dock should compensate for the lost access and is presented as a public benefit. In fact, it requires people to go out of their way to try to regain a limited version of those iconic views currently available to everyone. Unlike cruise ships, this structure is permanent. Cruise ships come and go, they don't block the view permanently. The floatel will be there all the time, creating a permanent visual barrier. While having a huge housing crisis and more general an affordability crisis, this project would generate giant revenues for a private company that is not willing to provide the financial contributions requested by the city. The council should focus on making the city more affordable for working people. Instead, council is considering an oversized luxury hotel. The question here is not just about this project, it's about what kind of city we are building and who we are building it for. Therefore, I urge to vote against this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 22 is Gerver Singh.
Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Gervier, and I'm a proud resident of Vancouver. I'm here tonight to speak in support of this proposal. We all know that our waterfront and our views are incredible assets, but I want to be honest with you. Views don't make a city, a view isn't an activity, a view doesn't pay the bills, and I can't live in a view. Right now, most of our seawall isn't lit, it isn't activated, and the only things you can do there are walk, bike, or sit on a bench. For a world-class city with a world-class waterfront, I think we can do better than that. If you look at great waterfront cities around the world, what makes them special isn't just the scenery, it's the destinations. Spas, public pools, restaurants, shopping districts, those are the things that draw people in and create vibrant living places. That's what we should want for Vancouver. More foot traffic is good for our local small businesses. As a destination, this project supports tourism and our hospitality sector. And as a hotel, it brings economic activity to the area year-round. And I want to point out, this proposal actually includes a public dock with seating and views, just like the seawall that people already love. So we're not losing anything, we're adding to it. I'd encourage the council to support this proposal. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Speaker number 3 is Rahul Sansoya.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Rahul Sansoya. I work at a front office at the Vancouver in a hotel in Old Harbor. So I'm aware about the situation because we deal with our guests that goes to that promenade all the time. And I'm a resident of Vancouver as well, literally a few blocks down. I do not support this project and I reject this project. I meet visitors every day, unlike the speaker that came just before me. We work there. We meet visitors every day. I help them checking, give directions, and answer questions about the city. One of the first things that I recommend is a seawall because of the incredible views of the North Shore and mountains. So it doesn't make sense to me that we would allow a massive project that blocks those views to benefit a private developer. And what we are really getting in public benefit in return. The developer is offering a dock to their restaurant and spa. And as far as I know, I don't know if the speakers have worked in the hotel before, restaurant and spa, it's not a public space. You have to be their resident or you're using their facility. So I think that's kind of like ambiguous too. That does not seem good enough. There are also safety concerns since the developer will not be subject to same city inspections at the hotel I work in. I'm actually shocked how come they were even allowed to get far this ahead. The the developer says he will use an outside third party, and how will the city ensure they live up to standards? Why rush this project? There are already thousands of hotel rooms in the city and thousands of more hotel rooms that have already been approved. So it's not that we are running low. We have already approved. City is already progressing with hotel rooms. This proposal takes away for something that public already has for little back in return. I would rather see the city prioritize other issues like affordability instead of approving projects like that. And also the safety concern, if there's I heard a speaker saying that objected if there is a fire situation in that congested area, people that don't work in, I want to reiterate that. I work in there for the last 10 years. If there's a fire situation in that area, it is going to have a huge impact on people, and we will not be able to get our emergency services on time, and a lot of people casualties may come occur. So I firmly reject it, and I value your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 24 is Prathamesh Pure.
Hi, my name is Prathamesh. Can you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but before you start, Speaker, can I ask you if you are a resident of Vancouver? That's a procedure question.
I work in Vancouver.
You are?
I work in Vancouver.
Oh, you was, but you are not a resident of Vancouver right now.
No.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah, just a procedure question. Please go ahead.
Okay. So I do agree with the previous speaker, Rahul. I almost agree with a lot of his point that he pinpointed, and I also do not support this plan. It will block the view of the harbor and the mountains along the side walls, and it impacts the public viewpoints like the end of Bullard Street. These are shared experience that belongs to all of us, and yet what is being offered in return? A dock that mainly serves access to the flotel itself. This is not a meaningful public benefit. And also on top of that, the developer has also refused to provide the financial contribution requested by the city. So we are being asked to give up a public space and the public views in exchange for very little. I am also concerned about the safety. This project will not require a building permit or an occupancy permit, meaning less city oversights. Instead, a third party oversees will be responsible for inspection. And then there is a bigger picture that we cannot avoid. The families in the Vancouver are struggling with affordability. Many are being pushed out of the city altogether. I mean, some of the people are living in Surrey and they come all the way to the Vancouver. So why are we prioritizing an oversized luxury hotel that does nothing to address these challenges? We should be investing in housing, in community spaces, and in a city that works for families, not giving away our waterfront. I urge you to vote no on this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 25 is Keith Jaros.
Yeah, hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Perfect. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Keith Jarris, and I'm a resident of Vancouver. I oppose the proposed flotilla. It more than doubles the permitted height of the nearby marina, and its sheer scale will alter the experience of our waterfront that so many enjoy today. This isn't another cruise ship coming to town, it's permanent. What concerns me most is what we stand to lose. This project will partially obstruct views of the harbor and the North Shore Mountains along part of the seawall, use it to define Vancouver. It will intrude on the panoramic sightlines at the end of Burrard Street and impact views of the Convention Center and Canada Place. These are not private amenities, they are shared public assets that belong to all of us. And yet, what is being offered in return? Dock access that primarily services access to the flotilla itself that is partially restricted to the public. That's an unequal exchange, I think. Selecting a private developer will be taking from the public while giving less back in return. I'm also troubled by the lack of proper oversight. This flotilla would not require a building permit or an occupancy permit. That means the city cannot ensure basic safety measures like fire protection, structural integrity, or evacuation procedures. Instead, we're being asked to trust a third-party inspector based overseas. Finally, I want to speak to priorities. Vancouver is in an affordability crisis. People are struggling to stay in the city. And yet, Council is being asked to approve an oversized luxury flotilla that takes up public waterfront space. while the developer refuses to provide meaningful financial contributions to the community. This is not the kind of development we need. I urge you to reject this proposal, please, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Speaker number 26 is Harminder Singh Kaylee. Hi, Harminder. Again, as a procedure question, can I ask you if you are a resident of Vancouver?
Yes, since 1988.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
I want to apologize. At first, I had an allergic reaction, so my eyes are a little blurry. Luckily, I used size 20 font on my speaking notes. Good evening, Council. My name is Harminder Singh Kaylee, and I live here in Vancouver, like I stated, since 1988. I'm also the Secretary Treasurer of the BC Federation of Labor, representing working people across this province. And I'm here tonight to urge you to reject this flotel proposal. Our waterfront is one of the most important shared spaces that we have as a city, and it belongs to all of us, families, workers, people who walk the seawall and take in the views. This proposal takes that shared public space and gives it to a private luxury floating hotel. Many speakers have already talked about the size of the hotel and how it would tower over the adjacent marina. I won't go in there. I won't speak to that just to move things along. But once we give up that space, we don't get it back, apparently till 2060. The waterfront has also been a place for working people. It's where this city was built. It's where people still make a living. And now we're being asked to put a luxury hotel right in front of that space. And who is it really for? Because it's not for the workers who built this city. And it's not for the residents who rely on that space every day for leisure and for work. Numerous speakers have talked about the safety concerns. This flotel would not be subjected to the same city inspections as other hotels and buildings. Many have talked about no building permit, no occupancy permit. It wasn't until I was sitting here today that I was alarmed to hear that the Vancouver Fire Department and the paramedic service do not have jurisdiction on this space. That means no direct city oversight on fire safety, structural integrity, or evacuation. Instead, this proposal relies on a third party based overseas. Along with this job, I've also been a dock worker working on the waterfront for 20 years. Many of the ships that come in have certifications from overseas. That does not mean that they don't have any safety concerns. We're also being asked to give up public waterfront space for very little in return. The so-called public benefit is access to a dock that leads to a private spa and cafe. And the developer has refused to provide the $3.6 million the city has asked for. When you build in Vancouver, you have the DCLs, you have the community amenity contributions. I was sitting in the back just doing some rough calculations on a 250-seat hotel based in downtown Vancouver, a luxury hotel, at a very modest occupancy rate of 78%. That will be there till 2060. Hundreds of millions in profit will go to this proponent. And yet, in a slap to the face of the residents of the city, they refuse a measly $3.6 million for amenities and infrastructure that this city is lacking in. We've heard it from previous speakers. Our community centers. We need childcare space. We need affordable housing. We are laying off frontline service city workers, which means that the residents of this city aren't getting the same level of service or quality. So we give up our public space, we lower our standards, and we get less in return. To me, that is not a fair deal. People in this city are struggling. Housing is unaffordable, the cost of living is high, and working people are being pushed out. This is the moment to focus on affordability and livability, not fast-tracking projects that benefit developers. At the end of the day, this is about priorities and choices. We all have a choice. This council has a choice. Do you choose the residents of Vancouver or do you choose private developers? Do we protect our shared waterfront? Do we stand with working people and residents? Or do we give more ground to private development for very little in return? And I'm asking all the councillors here in the chambers today to stand with the people of Vancouver and reject this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so this is the end of our speakers list. If there are additional speakers in the chamber, please come forward to the podium. And Clerk, are there any additional speakers online?
There are not.
Okay, thank you. All right, so this is the third and the final call for speakers. If you wish to speak to council about this item, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and displayed during the recess. We will now take 2 minutes recess for any additional speakers to call in or come forward to the podium. We're going to be back at 8:14. All right. We need one more for the quorum. Okay, we have quorum. Okay, perfect. All right, thank you. All right, Clerk, do we have any speakers in the chamber or on the line? Speaker 19, okay. All right, so I'm calling off speaker 19, Sean Laverald. Speaker 19, are you there? Sean.
proposal, the developer is asking the city to give up valuable public waterfront space for a private development. This is a big ask, and when something like this happens, the public should receive meaningful benefits in return. But that's not what we're seeing here. The developer is offering walkway access to floating hotel as the main public benefit. For a project of this size and impact, that feels completely out of proportion. Even more concerning, the applicant refused to provide the $3.6 million in community contributions that the city requested. So let's be clear. We're being asked to give up a part of our shared waterfront, accept the impacts on views, public spaces. In return, we get very little. That doesn't feel like a fair deal. It feels like a giveaway. At a time when so many of us are trying to afford the cost of living here, the project doesn't make sense. Why should the city give more to the developer than we get in return? Too many people can't afford to live here. The city needs to be addressing that affordability crisis instead of giving so much to another developer. If a project can't deliver meaningful public value, it shouldn't move forward. I urge you to reject the proposal and to stand up for what we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Sorry, so I forgot to ask you if you are residents of Vancouver. Just a procedural question.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have another speaker on the line with last four digit, 4201. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, can we ask your name and if you're a resident of Vancouver?
Absolutely. My name is Devin Hussick, and I am a resident of Vancouver.
Okay, thank you. Please go ahead.
All right. I'm sorry I wasn't planning on speaking tonight. I didn't think I'd have time. I was up till 7 in the morning looking after my little girl. So I'm a little unprepared here. But as I've noted, my name is Devin Hussick, and I have to say I am the son of a proud woman who is a member of a union who fought for her brothers and sisters in solidarity, and I support, and I too support the workers' movement. But my mom, when she was alive, she never celebrated when another plant in town closed down. It was a dark day. It meant their jobs were at risk. It meant another blow to the union. So I'm a little confused by the opposition tonight because I support unions. I support more workers. I think our economy should grow, and we should do it in a way that uplifts us all. I think this project will help to do that. You know, when I last spoke to council last year, it was to support more homes. I believe in more housing in our city. We need it. It's depressing to hear so many people call in tonight and say, they're not residents of Vancouver, but they work here. Something's broken in our city when that happens. But I don't see, if this was a strata building, a rental building on the water, that's not going to be very affordable either. This will give more people a chance to visit Vancouver, to work in Vancouver, as opposed to, being the newest place for a pied-à-terre for somebody coming in for a convention. And it is important to note, this is right next to the convention center. It's a great place for more hotels. As some of you may remember, I was at Children's Hospital last year. I spent two months at Children's Hospital. It was a very tough time for me. It was tougher for other parents that had to commute to Children's Hospital. People that came in from other cities, from the North Coast, to Children's Hospital. And on the first day there, we were given a piece of paper, and it laid out where are other hotels in Vancouver. There weren't that many. Those hotels are where other parents would have to compete when there's a convention, when there's FIFA in town, when there's another sporting event. If this hotel goes in, it might not be that affordable, but it's going to be where you see other people come in. When you see The Rock, Dwayne Johnson in Vancouver, he's not going to be broadcasting from Shangri-La. Perhaps he's broadcasting from this hotel, but he's not going to be at the Sandman Hotel. That's going to be a family that I met at St. Paul's Hospital that are coming up from the out north. They're going to be there and have a bit cheaper rate because they don't have to compete with a movie star now. That's worth approving for me. But it's for my daughter also that I'm speaking tonight. Because, I've been with them I'm a Vancouver resident, right? I've been at the seawall numerous times. You know, when you walk along South Falls Creek, it's private feeling. Yes, it's a public pathway, the seawall, but it's a whole bunch of patios that back onto it. That doesn't feel very public. If you're loitering around there, somebody's going to come and say, can you move along? It's kind of late at night. Obviously, the seawall downtown, the convention center is a little different. It's commercialized already. I mean, when the convention center was approved, you could have argued, why are we building the convention center? Why are we building Counter Place? This is privatizing the water. The convention center is amazing. I don't think any of us would disagree with that now. It doesn't have the best view sometimes when you're standing there. My cousins, when they came to town, they made us wait for half an hour to watch the Disney Carnival cruise ship sail out. And I tell you, I cannot stand that horn now. It haunts me. But those views get blocked. It doesn't really have a good connection to the water either. This proposal will build a public dock, and it will be a public dock. The SRW will secure that. And if the developer ever violates that as a hotel owner, well, it's easy enough to revoke a business license. That means that one day I can stand with my little girl right next to the water, right next to Cole Harbor. Maybe she'll dip her hands in it, and we can look at Stanley Park. We can look at the mountains, and we can see the waterfront of Vancouver how it was meant to be experienced. Not from, 20 or 30 feet up, right at the water's edge. I like to think for better Vancouver, and I think this proposal will help achieve that. So for those reasons, I'm asking you to support it tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Devin. All right, Clerk, do we have any other speakers in the chamber or on the line?
Just checking the line, Chair. None in chamber or on the line.
Okay, thank you. All right, seeing no further speakers, the speakers list is now closed. Clerk, has there been a large volume of public comments received on this item since 5 p.m.?
There has not been.
Okay, thank you. All right, seeing there are few or no public comments received after 5 p.m., I'm now closing the receipt of public comments as well. Does the applicant have any closing comments? Yeah, please go ahead.
I will try to keep this as short as possible. And I thank the speakers for their contribution and comments. A couple of things I'd like to just address in the comments that I've heard. I would like to address the declined 3.6 million contribution. The issue at heart is that this is not a permanent land-based structure that we're building. And the normal way these things are done, it's related to development permits, it's related to building permits. This is a temporary in nature maritime asset, which is classified, is under a flag, is regulated heavily, and it is movable. There is no certainty that this asset will be here in 1 year's time or 5 years' time. And so the contributions that we're normally expecting to see in the land-based developments are in perpetuity. These carry land value appraisals and increases, and the real estate goes up in value. This is not the case with a maritime asset. It is depreciated in a very different manner, similar to mobile assets, aircraft, vehicles. And that is at the heart of it. There are examples in multiple jurisdictions, including Vancouver, where you have a similar setup, where we pay for the mooring. So we've set up a mooring lease. We pay for that mooring. We pay for the connections to the PAVCO and to tapping into that infrastructure. And so that contribution, it is there, but it is in a different, separate manner, which is appropriate for a maritime asset. I would point out that the multiple speakers spoke of a delegated authority to a foreign entity in terms of regulation and control. That is not the case. DNV, that Norske Veritas, is one of the global leading classification societies, and it is a delegated authority of Transport Canada. It represents flag states as well, is regulated by IMO. These guys and their office is in Vancouver. These are local guys, local classification surveyors. And this is not a foreign entity. This is a global classification society with a local representation office that does all the work here locally. I think that's important to point out. The insurance point and the removal of a wreckage type of commentation. I would say that, yes, these are highly regulated. They're very high tech, high quality builds for very rough conditions. We have a standard insurance policy on all vessels that starts from $500 million US in cover for every single ship. And so that is definitely not an issue to be worried about. The nature of the operations, like we have in London, is a cooperation between the local authorities, fire department, and health and safety wise. This will be the case for this development as well. We have permanent structures, the cafe and spa and public dock, the access ways, they will be under normal building permissions. We will have to adhere to the local conditions and regulations to that effect. We will have close cooperation between the classification society and the local fire department, like we have in all the other jurisdictions as well. So it's just a different way of administering something like this. If we start saying that, no, everything has to be built by the local building code standards, those cannot be applied to a maritime asset because the construction and the hull and the way these are built and designed is completely different. It's the same as saying that we're going to apply local building code to an aircraft. It's not possible. So yes, it's a unique proposal in the sense that it steps outside of the norm. I think that's one of the strong points of this proposition, that we're taking a space that is otherwise not developable. There is no housing opportunity on this site. We're not taking away these opportunities. I hear the objections in terms of focus on affordable housing. We are contributing to that. We're not taking anything away from those opportunities. I'd like to point that out. In terms of the viewpoints, this seems to be a major issue, that there are certain viewpoints on the promenade, on the seawall, where there will be a loss of a viewpoint from a particular angle. We are creating additional viewpoint angles of almost 130 meters in terms of the public space that we're creating. And let's keep in mind that this asset will be moving with the tide, so it's a moving target, and it is a ship in the port. If we object to having ships in the port, in the cruise port area, I'm not sure what is a legitimate use of that water space, if that is not. I would point that out. And I rest my case. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right. Oh, please go ahead.
Just like to put an exclamation mark on this, because I don't think I focused on this enough at the beginning. But we had a development permit here because there's been a lot of discussion about a private developer. We have the rights to that water lot. I had a development permit in 2010 to make it a mega yacht marina, which had no access for the public whatsoever. And some of the people that own those mega yachts, those yachts might actually be bigger than this hotel, but you couldn't go there. It would be behind a gate. And at my age, this point in my life, the legacy that I have for Vancouver is important for me. I've been on the waterfront for 50 years. Jack Poole was a friend. Jack Poole Plaza is the town square. And this use adjacent to the town square is a perfect complementary fit. Whereas a private mega yacht marina, which I have the permission to do, I could resurrect that. I could sell memberships to billionaires and clip coupons. That's what private use is. And I'll also tell you that I've been involved with the Port Master Plan since 1978. We have 29 kilometers of waterfront seawall. This ship is 18 meters wide. If you want to see the sails, and there isn't a 6,000 passenger megaship there, go 20 paces east to where the raindrop is, and you can look at it. Or if you want, you can go out to the bow of this ship on a community amenity and look at it from there. So what I'm saying is that this is, the arguments that have been made today don't sit well with me because it flies in the face of the legacy that I wish to leave to Vancouver. So I rest my case.
Thank you. All right, does our staff have any closing comments?
Good evening, councillors. Yes, staff wanted to clarify some of the comments that we'd heard through the course of speakers this evening, and also to address some of the questions that were points that were raised earlier by council. With respect to fire, I wanted to clarify that the Vancouver Fire Rescue Services would support a call out to this facility. There is access from the lower level walkway along Waterfront Road where the servicing and loading could happen, and that's where fire and ambulances could access the site. But again, stressing that because we can't issue a building permit, it is the applicant and their certification system that would be primarily responsible for, say, putting out a fire. But our fire services would respond and assist where possible. This would be the same kind of response that they would entail for a cruise ship dock. They would bring fireboats, they would bring land equipment where possible, but not be fully responsible for putting out a fire. Recognizing that we are able to issue a building permit and all the checks that entails, as I had mentioned in my presentation, we do have a condition that requires that the applicant report to the city in the event of life, safety, and health issues. We would seek to understand at that point how the applicant would address those, and we do have, as a control, the ability to withdraw a business license for the operation of the hotel. Views have been brought up repeatedly this evening, and the proposal's height is 11 to 13 meters above the perimeter walkway, depending on low to high tide. This is the equivalent of a 3 to 4 story building. We recognize this, and so we recognize how this could obstruct views. Therefore, a new public viewing area is provided as part of this proposal, and that will be secured by a statutory right-of-way that is secured on title in perpetuity, so it will not become privatized. That SRW is a public access in perpetuity. Planning tracks new rooms to Hotels Vancouver Supply, has been tracking new rooms to Hotels Vancouver Supply since 2022, which is when council's original hotel motion was approved. Since 2022, we've had 350 hotel rooms completed, with another 850 under construction. This would provide the city with 1,160 rooms that would definitely be added to the hotel room supply. There are 5,780 rooms at the various stages of development review or in the pipeline. There is a yellow memo, just as a reminder, attached to this application. And so finally, should council have questions about this proposal or the conditions attached included in the staff report, staff are available to respond to your questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so does council have any final question for staff? Noting no additional question to the applicant are permitted. Councilor Maloney.
Thank you. I just wanted to, I didn't get time before to ask about the environmental impact from installing the pilings. Could you elaborate on that? I know that it's a different agency that'll be governing and regulating that process, but can you give me an idea of how that impact is mitigated in general?
Thank you for the question. Unfortunately, staff are not able to answer that question because that environmental review is outside of our regulatory purview. That is the purview of Department of Fisheries and Oceans. We did reach out to DFO as part of this review process, and they said those reviews happen at the development permit stage.
Also, I did appreciate the comparison with cruise ships in terms of fire safety. I just am interested to know, in terms of a normal building, a normal hotel, you would have annual inspections for sprinklers and that kind of thing. And I'm assuming that would be, I don't know whether that would still be done, or, I mean, I'm assuming there would be some, I'm seeing nods from the applicant, but so that's just would be the normal thing, because it's sort of different from a cruise ship, even though there are similarities. A cruise ship comes and goes.
We understand from the applicant team, and they told us about the systems. It's a maritime system. They will, through this classification agency and engineering, ensure that it's built to those standards. Fortunately, it's not something that we can regulate, but we understand things like sprinklers and fire extinguishers will be on board, but it is entirely up to the applicant's responsibility to do so.
Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. They're my questions.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. Councillor Kirby-Young.
I don't have questions. There's no one else in the queue. I'm prepared to move the recommendations of the yellow memo, Chair, and speak to it.
Okay. Okay, so sorry, Councillor Kirby-Young. Councillor Fry has questions, so I'll move you back, and then Councillor Fry, please go ahead first.
Yeah, I just, in some of the applicant's comments around the DCL, the not paying the DCL in lieu of the mooring lease, I'm wondering if you could just give us a little bit more color on what does the mooring lease entail, who's it payable to, and what's accrued by the city?
Thank you for the question. We're not privy to, that would have been we're not privy to the lease. That would have been a question better asked of the applicants. We're unaware what financial arrangements they have made. But we understand that lease is going to be between the applicant and the landowner, which is PAFCO, and they have to work out the terms of the finances. The public benefits that what is coming to us has already been described.
Okay, all right. Yeah, just because the mooring lease did come up and it's not in the application, but okay, I appreciate that. That's not within your realm.
Thank you, Councillor Fry. Councillor Maloney?
Yeah, thanks. So we had, in terms of the DCLs again, we had mention of this development needing access to water, sewer, electricity, and potentially having some impact on the need for transport infrastructure. Can you give me a bit of a picture of how much impact this hotel will have on, like, is it going to cost the city more in infrastructure? Significantly.
Maybe I can help out, Councillor. And just to speak to the purpose and kind of what a DCL is, it's usually not tied to any particular impact or acute impact. Usually those types of more acute impacts are like conditioned upgrades that might be required associated with the development. A DCL has to do with the overall infrastructure impact of intensifying use over time. So it's like a type of generic impact fee. So it's all the infrastructure we require to help service growth of various categories that are eligible under the DCL, and we use those funds pooled to input. And the reason why we asked for that is because we believe the impacts of this are like and similar to if this was filled land with a permanent structure. I understand that the applicant is suggesting that this may or may not be a long-term use for the site, but anticipating that this could be, recognizing that they have a long-term lease, we believe that some of those impacts of transportation and utilities justify asking for that in lieu of our ability to impose that fee like we would if this were a bricks and mortar project on land or fill.
And no, I'll go off for now.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Kirby-Young, your question, or you wanna? We can't hear you.
Sorry, Chair, just taking myself off mute. Yeah, no, I'm prepared to move the recommendation, the yellow memo, if I can.
Okay, so sorry, there's Councillor Claassen, you have question? It's not question, right? Okay, great. Okay, so I have to read something before you guys move it. Okay, Clerk, did we receive any additional public comments since the close of the speaker of the public comments?
Just checking, Chair.
No, we did not.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I will remind council that we need to move the recommendations for item 1 together with the yellow memo dated April the 7th, 2026, entitled CD 1363 Tax Amendment 1055 to 1085 Canada Place and 1001 to 1045 West Waterfront Road amend report text. So council will not make decision on this application. So I think it's moved by Councilor Kirby-Young and seconded by the Councilor Claassen with the yellow memo. All right, council, is there any discussion? Councilor Kirby-Young, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I will start by saying this is not an ordinary rezoning proposal, not a typical one that council has received and been in front of us. I had the opportunity to engage early on with the proponents, and the question that they had was, how did they need to engage with the city, and what appropriately was the city's role, and what did they need to do? And I think that I can say confidently that this has been a thoughtful process with respects to defining that. And as we've heard from city staff, the city's role really was around the text amendment with respects to the convention center and its ancillary uses on the water lot. I also think that the questions with respect to the city doing its due diligence, even though it doesn't have the governing authority, with respects to the safety components, have been appropriately covered. So all of that said, if council approves this proposal tonight, Vancouver will be getting its first ever floating hotel, or flotel as it has been coined, on the waterfront next to the Vancouver Convention Center west side. It would deliver 250 rooms and be new to Vancouver, but it is not a new concept. It's a proven one. It is coming from a proponent called Sunborn, as we heard, but they are working in partnership with a local longstanding Vancouver marine operator, the Vancouver Harbour Flight Centre. It should be noted that, again, Vancouver is not taking a first on this one. Similar hotels have been operated in London successfully for about 23 years, and also in Gibraltar. So I think that that provides some perspective that these are both valued by the public and also operationally have been sort of endured and stood the test of time. I believe that this will bring an exciting new innovation to Vancouver's waterfront. The flotel will be an economic contributor, creating new jobs and supporting both our local and our tourism economy. It is environmentally friendly with a low carbon footprint. It's publicly accessible with a new public dock, which is now at sea level, that will provide seating and different views that people can enjoy and spend time on. It's important to note that this will be fully connected to PAVCO's existing infrastructure that has the capacity to fulfill its needs. The environmental performance and the care that has been taken for a marine environment was inspiring to me in learning about this project. I will note that that includes components like thermal energy systems and no discharge. I also think that this is a good pivot from the original plan for this part of the harbor that enabled a private yacht type of marina scenario. If council did not approve this project tonight, that would be a fallback and an existing right that the operator would have. I prefer this project in terms of the fact that it will deliver needed new hotel rooms. I think by welcoming this project, it will not only address the hotel shortage, it will add a whole new innovative and unique experience for a tourism sector in our city. It's an exciting and a fresh addition to Vancouver's waterfront, provides a new way of experiencing it for locals and for visitors. And I think that it has been fully debated. I think it delivers economically. I think it delivers environmentally. I think it delivers from an experiential point of view and a city building point of view, and I'm proud to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Claassen.
Thanks, Chair. Back in, I think it was December 2022, I was a fresh-faced new city councillor sworn in just mere weeks before, and one of the very first meetings I had with a stakeholder group was with Sunborn and the applicant. And so I've been involved and engaged with this project since one of its first times that it came to the city, and that's going on 3.5 years ago. So it has been a very fulsome process to make happen. I was immediately attracted by the different use for that waterfront space that Graham Clerk holds the, I guess, the rights to on the north side of the convention center. It also is obviously very environmentally friendly. It's a bespoke, actually designed for the location it's in. It'll be no greenhouse gases that will come from the operation of it. It will be electrified and running off the electrical grid and secure. And then the fact that it brings a potential animation to part of the seawalk on the north side. And we know that the north end of the convention center, if you've been down there, it's generally a quieter, kind of shaded and less active part of the overall seawall network. And this proposal could actually bring some energy and some foot traffic and animation to that space. And certainly having close access to the waterfront is a real attraction that I think that it will be very pleasing for both locals and visitors. I recall when I went to Stockholm as a backpacker after university, and I got to stay at the Aft Chapman, which is a boat that is situated right in the Stockholm harbor. It's a hostel, very modest. You know, probably it didn't cost that much to stay a couple of nights there, but it was a remarkable feeling of being right on the water. And I can imagine that guests at this hotel will similarly find the experience of being right there in one of the most beautiful vistas in the world, being able to kind of to be able to stay and enjoy our city in that way. I think a lot of things have been sort of thought through in this proposal, but obviously there's a lot more to come in terms of the actual design, construction, and implementation of this. The concerns about safety, well, I think are noteworthy. I do believe that, you know, we've seen that Vancouver Fire Rescue Services have been, boldly taking on measures to protect our waterfront. In fact, one of their emergency craft was recently deployed at the Surrey docks. So we know that they're ready and willing at all times to make sure that the safety on our waterfront is paramount. This project is going to create important jobs. I think it's going to be great for workers. I think it's going to be, we owe a great debt of gratitude to our hospitality sector and the people who are working in hotels and restaurants that greet people from here, from abroad to come here for tourism and for conventions. I mean, they are a huge driver of our economy. We recognize them with the Vancouver Tourism Awards every year. And so I think that this would be a fantastic place to work and a fantastic opportunity for us to really shine and showcase our city. I just, again, I'm really supportive of what this innovative approach to looking at our waterfront. I note that the sloped bow of this craft will mean that if you're looking northbound, I heard one speaker talk about views in the Burrard Street view, but from what I can tell, they will not be impacted. It looks like that has been sort of taken into account in this application. So very much looking forward to seeing this finally realized and installed in this location, and I think it'll be a huge attraction and a huge benefit to our hotels and hospitality scene here. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Councillor. So I'm going to pass the chair to Deputy Councillor Meisner, so I can make some final remarks. Okay, thanks. All right, so also I like to strongly support this project. This proposal represents something rare but very innovative in our city. It's a project that challenges convention while advancing our broader economic and public space goals. Vancouver is a global city, as we all know, but we cannot continue relying on yesterday's idea to solve today's challenges. A floating hotel is not just a development application. It's an example of innovation in how we think about land use, tourism, and our relationship with the waterfront. In a city where land is very limited, demand continues to grow, whether it is housing or hotel room, this project explores a new frontier, activating our marine space in a thoughtful and purposeful way. From an economic perspective, the need is very clear. Vancouver continues to face shortage of hotel rooms, which directly impacts our ability to host major events, attract visitors, and support our local businesses, which is really important to our city right now. The project delivers 250 new rooms in one of the most strategic locations in the region without displacing any existing land use. It's a very innovative idea. But just as important is also the public benefit. This is not a private gated development. It introduces a new publicly accessible waterfront experience, including an extended floating walkway, new viewing areas, and amenities that residents and visitors can enjoy. The commitment to public access from early morning to late evening ensure that this space becomes an extension to our seawall, not a replacement of it. Also, there are 200 jobs created because of this hotel. It's not only 200 jobs. Those are 200 families. I'm thinking about young kids, seniors living in these families. We created a very good job opportunity for the whole families. Yes, there are valid concerns around views, environment, and access. And those concerns are exactly why this project is before us, is with condition, design refinements, further regulation oversight, and also the business license requirements, which the city has fully control over. Innovation does not mean absence of responsibility. It means we shape the new ideas carefully and deliberatively. In my view, this project strikes a very good balance. It supports our local economy, expands public space, demonstrates that Vancouver is willing to lead, not follow, when it comes to innovation, urban solutions. For those reasons, I wholeheartedly support this project. Thank you. Also want to thank staff and thanks for the applicant. So Councillor Mize, I'm going to take the chair back. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to advance Councillor Maloney.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the public speakers coming tonight to share their views. This development, I've listened very carefully to the applicant, to staff. I've asked a lot of questions. I have listened very carefully to the issues raised by the public. And I've reflected very, very deeply on this development, both in my pre-reading and with everything I've heard about it. I do support this development. I've reflected on the fact that the view that will be partially obscured by this hotel, which I actually very much like the look of, was created by the construction of the convention centre itself. I think that this is going to make an important contribution to the operation and effectiveness of the convention centre. And even just from the public dock point of view, I know that spa facilities are hugely popular in the city of Vancouver. I'm satisfied that the emergency services access is a similar situation to that of the cruise ships that dock close by. I'm comforted that we can issue a business licence, and I'm also comforted that there's a statutory right of way in perpetuity to the dock, and that the public dock will give the public a view and access to the waterfront in this location that it didn't otherwise have unless you were lucky enough to go out on a boat. So I think that is something new and different that does contribute to the public. I think it is unfortunate that the applicant hasn't offered to pay at least some of the requested contribution in lieu of DCLs, just given how strongly that the public feels about the deficit in public amenities. I think it would have been a nice gesture. I do think that this project will make other contributions to our city that make that acceptable to me. even though I don't really like it. I do accept that this development is a maritime asset and is therefore different, but I very much hope that this applicant will take opportunities in future if the business case works out and that this development is in Vancouver for decades, to make financial and other contributions to support the community, and that will perhaps make up for this declining to pay the requested fee. Anyway, look, I'm generally in support of this. It's been a difficult decision for me, but I'll be voting in favour.
Thank you. All right, Councillor Dominado.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you to staff. Thank you to the applicant for the presentations this evening. My comments, my colleagues have been very articulate in expressing their reasons for supporting this application. I'll anchor my comments in a couple of perspectives. One, the Central Downtown Waterfront planning, as we look to the future, this area of the city is already an active hub for transportation, for tourism, for economic vitality with the convention centers, for visitors, for residents to enjoy the vistas and the viewpoints and the mountains and the water. And so what I see in this is that this application is complementary to some of that medium to long-term planning that we're undertaking right now. One of the pieces of work that we've identified is that we want to create more pedestrian cyclist access to the waterfront, that we have some disconnects right now in that planning. So I think that in addition to the hotel component, the West Side dock and public space is actually a positive in terms of creating more access to the water, not less, in terms of what we have now. And then when you start to situate this in the other priorities of the city, we want to drive a strong economy. And so we want visitors to come here and spend their money. We want them to come and stay in hotels. And oftentimes we've talked about the lack of hotel spaces in the city and affordability around hotels. We want to attract conferences to the city who are going to be hosted in one of the two convention centers. And so this is the perfect location to have another place to stay and lay your head. We also want something that's environmentally sustainable and aligns with our I think, core values as a city of being a sustainable city, and particularly in where we're situated with the Pacific Ocean and the mountains. Finally, I think as we're looking back to the economic aspect of this, it also will create jobs for local residents. So when we talk about opportunities here in the city, that's another part of this, is job creation. But my colleagues have spoken to all the other elements, and I think that many of the other concerns that were raised by speakers have been mitigated by responses we heard from the applicant and from staff. And so I'll leave my comments there, but I think it is going to be a fantastic addition to our waterfront, and I'm sure we will see an evolution of this waterfront as we have in years past, and I think there's more to come as we work on the Central Downtown Waterfront planning. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Fry.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Thanks for everybody who came and spoke to this, and to the applicants for presenting, and for staff for stick handling this. Like Councillor Klassen, I've been familiar with this for some time. This proposal's been floating around for some time.
Oh my God.
Somebody had to do it. But you know, it is an opportunity. I think to what I like about this is, you know, first and foremost, I recognize that this is a luxury hotel and it won't be necessarily affordable to a lot of folks, and that there are sort of disconnects there from issues around affordability. But hotel development is about economic development. And when I look at the need for new hotel rooms, I also consider the strain that short-term rentals put on our existing rental stock. So even if this is a luxury hotel, I know that it will contribute on the whole to more hotel rooms that will open up and take away from that short-term rental stock, which I do think is a problem for our city and is a problem for long-term tenants in our city. So I supported on that. On the notion that this is removing the view, I'm pretty familiar with that area. I cycle through there all the time. I like hanging out around there, and it's totally shady. So I like the fact that this western dock that is going to be accessible to the public with a spa and a cafe and all that, it's actually going to have sunshine as well. That hasn't really been talked about much, but right now, if you want to look at the view from that spot, it's almost always in the shade as far as I can tell. But this new dock will add a new sunny vista for folks to really enjoy it and get closer to the water. And I think that closeness to the water, that accessibility, Councillor Dominato touched on the work that we've been doing since last term on Central Waterfront and opening up that access, because we don't celebrate our water access enough. And I think this hotel will introduce an opportunity to celebrate what we are as a waterfront city, but also open up access for the public as well as for guests. Lastly, I am a little disappointed, like Councillor Maloney, that the DCL conversation didn't kind of extract a little bit more of a tangible cash public benefit that we could rely on. But I do think that this dock and the public access and the cafe and the sunny vista does indeed provide some kind of a public access and public benefit at the same time. So I will be supporting this application.
Thank you, Councillor Fry. Councillor Meisner.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks to everyone who spoke to council. Thank you to the applicant and to staff for fielding all our questions tonight. There's been some commentary about the hotel. I know we just heard from Councillor Fry about the hotel being a luxury hotel. We heard from the applicant that they're looking to do something a little bit more modest. And while I was listening to that, I did actually go and look at the prices for the hotel that they operate in London, which is a floating hotel. And actually, it was quite a bit more reasonable than I thought. It is currently about $230 a night to book a night in a couple weeks from now. I'm not aware of too many hotel rooms in downtown Vancouver that are $232 a night. So that is giving me some optimism that we're going to see something that's a bit more moderately priced, while understanding that it is on the waterfront as well. But I think there's really two main benefits to this proposal. And like my colleagues, I've been following this for quite a while. And the applicant engaged council early in the process. I know they've been working on it for several years. The first being the significant number of new hotel rooms in a downtown core that really needs hotel rooms. And yes, we have several hundred hotel rooms currently under construction, but we have a huge deficit. We need to build thousands of new hotel rooms by 2050. So this will go a fair way towards addressing that shortage. It will also offer a unique experience. So it was mentioned, I think, by the applicant around how many hotel rooms and hotels around the world are the same, and that's very true. This is going to be a unique experience for people who are coming to Vancouver. They'll be able to stay in a floating hotel on our waterfront. They're going to have, spectacular views of the city. It will animate this area of the seawall, which, as some of my colleagues have mentioned, is quite dark. I remember the retail units down there really struggled when they first opened. I used to go to the gym there, and there was not much else there. Thankfully, those retail units have tenants now, and it's more vibrant. But I think this will add life and energy to that space that needs it still. And the other benefit is obviously the public space. So to have this at grade with the water public space that people can use during the day, that they can go there, they can sit in the sun, they can go to the cafe, they can enjoy the view, they can get a new perspective of Cole Harbour and the different views that are available, I think will be a big asset. And I think that makes it worthwhile to pursue this. So with both those things, I am strongly in support of it, and I look forward to seeing it set sail. I guess that's not as good of a pun as Councillor Fry, but looking forward to seeing it come to fruition. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor. All right, so seeing no one else on the queue, I'm going to call the vote. Clerk, please take us to the voting screen, and Council, please register your vote on the voting panel. Councillor Kirby-Young, can you turn on your video, please? Councillor Kirby-Young.
Sorry, Chair, is it on now?
Okay, there we go. So Council, please register your vote.
Chair, can I get a vote assist opposed?
Okay. All right, so the application has passed with Councillor Orr in opposition. Hey, thank you, congratulations. All right, so we need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Claassen, seconded by Councillor Montague. All those in favor say yeah. Opposed say nay. Okay, the meeting is now adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, thanks.